The following podcast contains naughty language and ridiculous situations. Listener discretion is advised.
You know, tonight I'm so excited because we are having a Patreon takeover. But, however, we have to do a slight audible. So while we're still doing a Patreon thing, I think a better, more apropos term would be a Patreon crossover. And wouldn't you know it, we have a very special guest. So, welcome to Trick or Treat Radio.
Welcome all you little zombies. You're listening to Trick or Treat Radio, starring the Deadites.
Welcome to episode 507 of Trick or Treat Radio. Trick or Treat Radio is the world's most dangerous podcast and is recorded in front of an undead studio audience here at Castle Wolfenstein. Also at the Lair of Lost Swag within the ultraviolet light. Also in the Lair of the Gods. And joining us from a fourth location in the not frozen tundra of Ohio, we're joined by our good friend El Goro from the Talk Without Rhythm podcast.
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here as always.
Awesome, Goro. It's always a pleasure, and this one probably was sooner than we would have intended. We always love having you on the show, but this one was a request from our buddy John R., who is essentially, he's sponsoring the show tonight. This is a Patreon takeover, and John R. is a great fucking dude. He's been with us since the beginning of Patreon. He's also a Patreon supporter of El Goro's, and even I talked about on the show, we did sort of, I guess this is sort of a foreign exchange Patreon takeover.
That's right, man, because as you said, John, who is a friend of mine, he's also one of my very generous patrons, but he had a Patreon pick over on Talk Without Rhythm, and he decided to call an audible on that. He had the opportunity to join me on the show, but he elected you, Johnny Wolfenstein, to join me on a conversation about the ruins and the super deep, and it was a damn good time.
Yeah, no, it was a really good time. I hadn't seen either film, and I'm super glad that he picked those flicks. I really dug the ruins, and
Definitely.
Yeah, if people haven't checked that out, you can go check out Talk Without Rhythm. I don't know if you know the episode title. The episode number offhand.
Yeah, it was episode 612. So
612.
just a couple weeks back.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't already heard that, you can go check that out. Listen to me and El Goro just kind of shoot the shit about a couple of cool movies. But yeah, so this came around, and John's Patreon takeover was up, and he programmed the films, or I should say the TV show, the episodes, and it turns out that John wasn't able to join us, so he had El Goro in his stead, which, you know, like, always fun to hang out with El Goro, and we get to kind of like, you know, I don't know, like what do they call that? Like a 7-10 split Raven Shadow. We got one where, you know, one ball knocks out most of the pins, and then the other ball gets all the others, right? Raven Shadow, is that how that works?
I mean, there's a lot of balls.
It's a
Balls in motion. Balls in the air.
There's a lot of balls in the air.
I think we should stick to wrestling terminology. I picked up the hot tag, and I'm jumping in.
Mystery partner. Yeah. I mean, like, we got balls in the air. They just don't care. But no, I think, let's go with the more kayfabe.
So there you have it. It is the hot tag. John made the hot tag to El Goro, and he is joining us. And we're going to do something. Not only are we doing talking about episodic television or streaming, I guess it's not really television anymore, but we're talking about the first two episodes of 30 Coins, which is directed by Alex de la Iglesia, and looking forward to jumping in and talking about these. But so since we've never done this before, this is a first for Trick or Treat Radio, we've never talked about like an actual discussion about a streaming series. So this will be a first for us. And So, because Ogoro is doing this on relatively short notice, we didn't want to keep him up way past his bedtime. So, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump into the discussion about 30 coins a little bit earlier than we might. And then later on, we'll just kind of shoot the shit. And Raven Shadow's got a good story. Do you want to give a tease about this, Raven Shadow?
All I can say is that, you've heard the stories about, don't meet your legends because you'll be disappointed. Well, I can say that over the course of this past weekend, I met a legend, and I was far from disappointed.
Very nice.
Yeah, Raven Shadow gave me a little bit of a tease about it, and so I'm looking forward to hearing the whole story. But
Yeah, dude.
yeah, so we were also the other thing I want to kind of get out off the top here is the other day we recorded. It was on Sunday night. We recorded our latest Patreon exclusive episode, and it was the first time we're doing Coin Flip Cinema. And for Coin Flip Cinema, it was Arkham Josh's sort of idea, and so we had Arkham Josh on for it. And the film we discussed was Casablanca, which was
very nice.
Which was a first-time watch for myself and for Aries, or at least first time all the way through that you recall. You've probably seen bits and pieces. I think you had stated.
Yeah, well, it was when I was very young. It was on, and I probably was playing with my Batman doll.
You're like, Frank,
Not a euphemism.
Yeah. You're like, frankly, Robin, I don't give a damn. Oh man. So yeah, that was a lot of fun though, and we actually did stream it. We did stream it through Discord for Patreons to listen to. We had a couple of people pop on. And it was a little bit short notice, and this is the first time we tried it, so I didn't want to kind of like shout it out. But yeah, it seemed to work fine, except for Discord calls them stages. It's like an event, and you can have a stage where there's a speaker on the stage, and that like the admin, who in this case would be us, can invite other people to be speakers. And it's kind of a cool thing. So, that way it's not an open channel where, you can hear people like chewing or drinking or people yelling in the background, but everyone's muted unless they kind of like raise their hand to be added, and then you add them as a speaker, and then they can talk. So it's actually kind of a cool setup. The only problem was, because I have two computers that I run the show with, it was funny because I could hear Corny who was talking, but the guys couldn't hear Corny. So
Oh, jeez.
so I was kind of relaying everything. So we'll work out the kinks of that though. But it was a lot of fun to do that. And Corny and Rachel from Zombie Girls were tuning in and giving us some feedback, so we appreciate them doing that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think Coin Flip Cinema seems to have been a success, and people have been giving us recommendations for good and bad movies to add to it. So for the future, we'll be adding to it. So just wanted to kind of get that out off the top here. If you guys haven't heard it and you're Patreon supporters, it's available now. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you can join for as little as $2 a month, and head on over to patreon.com/trickortreatradio. All right, so got all that business out of the way. Gora, I know we talked just now about the episode I was on. I think you said 612,
Yep.
which was a couple weeks ago. But what else have you been doing since that time?
Oh, well, since then, I've been keeping with the Patreon picks. We've had some interesting selections onto that. Immediately following that, we had a pick from my very generous patron, George, who had booked a Lemmy double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lemmy himself. So I checked out the film Eat the Rich from 1987, a very, very subversive British film. And that was paired up with Airheads from '94, because we had to include that. It's the film that gave us Lemmy as God, so that was on that.
It's true.
And then the most recent pick came from another patron by the name of Matthew K, and he just selected the 2000 Park Chan-wook film, Joint Security Area, the film that he made before he started doing the Vengeance films, and the 2002 wuxia film Hero, the one with Jet Li and Donnie Yen.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I haven't seen it in maybe since the theater, honestly.
Yeah, it's still a gorgeous, gorgeous film. We certainly got into some of the subtext that I didn't necessarily pick up on when I first saw it, and watching it today is like, is this film basically an apologetic for authoritarianism? Let's dig into that.
Wow, yeah, that's it's funny. If I'm recalling my films correctly, this wasn't Hero. Wasn't there a fight in Hero with the cherry blossom tree and the cherry blossoms like falling?
Yeah, I don't think they were cherry blossoms because the leaves were yellow. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's
okay.
that very much the fight. And then there was the tea house fight in the rain
Yeah.
between Jet Li and Donnie Yen, and then a fight across a very still pond or lake. It's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Oh yeah, it's so gorgeous. I'm glad I got a chance to see it on the big screen. But like around here in Maryland, we have a lot of cherry blossom trees, and I always like whenever wind blows and like a bunch of like the flowers come flying off the tree. I think like I'm just getting ready to fight someone or something.
Feeling like a samurai.
Yeah, exactly.
You already got the hair right, so you just get the sword and
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah, Raven Chow, you got a sword, right?
I do. Yeah. You get it?
Yeah, get it. No, don't
The
get
better-
it.
No, because it's probably with the Casablanca DVD.
No, I know. I know where it is.
Oh
But,
shit.
those dope episodes. I did actually after hearing. I want to track down Eat the Rich, but I definitely watched Airheads that following Friday after listening to your show and had probably a hour and a half conversation with Rock about Airheads.
Mhm.
But I do want to check out. What was bugging me out though, you kept calling it JSA, and all
Yeah.
I kept thinking about was the Society of America.
Oh, trust me, I so wanted to make that reference, but I didn't think the patron was going to pick it up. But yes, anytime I see JSA, I'm thinking Justice Society.
All right, thank you, brother. So I do track that down too.
Yep.
But Gore's been killing it. He's been fucking calming me down. I'll tell you that much, Johnny.
Calming you down, huh?
Yeah.
Why, you on edge?
Fucking yeah. I'm over the yeah. I'm like Adam Copeland, but more so.
He's the entire brood, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
And,
Yeah, change it to a red light, and you have a whole rising up entrance.
yeah, fire, blood. It'd be great.
There it is. Now we got the brood entrance.
Boom, boom. Wow.
Am I the only one impressed that he could do that on his phone?
Actually, no. That's a good point, Aries. That's really impressive for you, Raven Shadow. I'm super impressed. How did you do that? Do it again.
I got a remote control.
Oh, it's not an.
Oh, it's a
not an
remote.
app.
I thought
Okay.
it was the phone. I thought it was an app. Okay, I'm not as impressed.
Yeah.
Oh
He
shit.
stares at it the same way he stares at his phone.
Are you green with envy? There you go.
Green with envy.
It's more of a teal.
Oh, was Jim Smith around? Is he
Yeah,
gonna
the
walk
Jim-
in the room?
Dude, that'd be awesome if Jim Smith was here. Because no one's going to work tomorrow if he shows up.
That's true.
I'm calling off.
I can't remember. Goro, did you ever get a chance to meet Jim Smith at any of the times you came up?
I think I ran into him a little for like a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, just long enough for me to say, "Hey, I dig your music," and then that was about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let me see. In the chat room, we got a few folks. We got Tim Chuma. He says, Bumbaloo. He says, holiday in Australia today and Monday. Also, holiday next Monday, week for the Australian Veterans Day. Look at that. All kinds of. Ravenchow, if you move to Australia, you can get lots of holidays.
I like that. Yeah, but they have giant fucking spiders and probably like fucking ticks with like arms. I don't want to go there.
Ticks with arms.
But do they have spider babies?
Yeah. Spider Baby. Dun, 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 dun. All I can think of is that fucking song now, Spider from the theme from Spider Baby.
Yep.
Yeah, they have fucking insects that have like tattoos and piercings. Like, I don't want that.
So, all right. Well, we got some stories to tell later on. As I mentioned, we're going to kind of change format a little bit here. We do have a show we're going to talk about. So, as El Goro said, go check out Talk Without Rhythm. It calms Raven Shadow down. That's got to say something because he's so high strung. If it calms him down, it'll probably calm you down.
I got problems. All and I listen a lot. It really calms us down.
Do you have a fan on in there, Raven Shadow?
I have a fan somewhere. I'm not sure where they are, but they're probably listening.
No, a spinning fan that cools you off.
No, I have, but nothing's activated.
Oh, weird. Okay, when you talk, it sounds like there's like a, kind of a fan thing going on. You're fine though. It's not bad. It's not that bad. I just was curious.
No, he has a complex
I
about
know.
that.
I
Thanks.
shouldn't have said anything. Jesus Christ. Tim Chuma also says the huntsmen eat other spiders. The huntsmen.
Oh.
Yeah. What's that spider that keeps the baby frog in their fucking cave so they can eat the tiny bugs? So it's like, you've seen that picture on the internet, right? This is like the big like tarantulas that have a little tiny frog, and they eat the small bugs so they don't eat the spider's eggs. So they're kind of like spiders' pets. Have you guys seen that on the internet?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's fun.
That's fun.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Wow.
It feels like a Spider-Man crossover needs to be had. You need to have a little frog buddy hanging out with him.
Yeah.
Well, there is Frogman in the Spider universe. Google that character, you'll be surprised.
What about Frog Lady from The Mandalorian season 2?
Oh, jeez. That poor lady.
Oh, no, it's not good.
That's not good. Why?
Because Grogu ate all the eggs or the frogs, whatever the fuck.
That's true. He did. All right. So we should probably get into this. I want to talk about 30 coins. And let me pull up. First of all, let me go ahead and kind of read the details on IMDb. So 30 coins initially aired January 4th of 2021. So it's been just over a year now, and I know there's a season 2 coming. I don't have the date in front of me. I'll try to look that up. But 30 coins, also known as, my Spanish is horrible, 30 monedas.
Yeah, 30 monedas.
And it, as I mentioned, is created and directed by Alex de la Iglesia. And it stars, let's get a cast here, Eduard Fernandez as Padre Vergara, Megan Montaner as Elena, and we have Miguel Angel Sylvester as Paco, and Macarena Gomez as Mersh. I think it's how.
Yep.
Yep.
And as I was watching that, I kept trying to figure out where I knew Macarena Gomez from, because she had one of those faces until I finally put it together. She was in Dagon back in the day.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, the Stuart Gordon movie.
Yeah.
She was the lady with the tentacle legs.
Oh shit! Okay, because she did look familiar to me. I don't know if I'd remember her from that. It's been a while since I've seen Dagon, but she had a very familiar face. So
Yeah.
I guess it could be that. But yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Dagon. I haven't seen that in so long. All right, so the synopsis for the series as a whole. I'll go to the synopsis of each episode, but the synopsis for the series is an exiled priest tries to escape his demons while living in a remote village in Spain. Raven Shadow, this sounds kind of like your life story.
I didn't realize he was part of the clergy.
Oh no! I was concerned, but I mean, like, is it only lost on me or not lost on me? Like, this is kind of like if Ares was a priest, right?
Motherfucker.
Wait.
No, I mean, also you a little bit like a Spanish Bobby D, a little bit, but definitely
Spanish Bobby D?
yeah, Bobby De Niro.
Well, I know who you mean, but
yeah, a little bit of Spanish Bobby D, but I took more of an Ares thing from it.
why?
Even also,
Why?
Because he's a badass bruiser of a priest, man. Watch him work that heavy bag.
All the boxing he does?
No. It's because there's more gray in the beard.
Oh, that's what it is.
no, he was handsome, and you're handsome, and I think you.
You think you would what?
I don't know, but no, I like that he looked like Ares to me, and that calmed me down too.
He didn't. He really didn't. He has a beard and no hair on top of his head. That's pretty much it.
Regardless, yeah. Yeah.
Freeze? What's
Calm me down thinking you were the banished priest in Spain or wherever they were.
okay? I don't speak Spanish. I am not religious. So beyond the beard and bald, what reminded you of me?
It's called acting.
What?
Oh my god. Okay.
Pretend. It's pretend. And look, I know. I listen. This is a true story. Those of us in New England, maybe they had it out in Ohio. I'm not sure. Do you guys have catechism out there?
I mean, I assume I'm not Catholic, so I assume that's the thing that all Catholics have.
yeah,
Sunday school. Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't Sunday. But we would have to go after school. I think on Wednesdays. Or what?
But to make the masses understand Sunday school.
All right,
Yes.
but
Most people understand that term.
so fair enough. And my family wasn't religious. We did it because we were supposed to. But I stopped going because
Sounds like most of the Catholics I've met over the years.
just fucking go. 'Cause we had- but I stopped going, and there's why, because it was G.I. Joe season 2. Serpenta was showing up. Sergeant Slaughter was on the show regularly, and we didn't have DVRs or internet or VC. You couldn't record. So I'm like, I can't miss fucking G.I. Joe with Serpentor. So I just stopped going. And after 3 or 4 weeks, my mom was like, hey, did you stop going to catechism? And I'm like, yeah, because, fucking new season of G.I. Joe. And she was okay with that. So it all worked out. So I stopped going. That was
Okay.
never
That was a great story. Thanks for telling it.
Yeah.
just that long relevant.
How was that relevant?
Saying that's my,
What
my
part of that was relevant?
I'm just saying that's my Jesus story. That's my church story.
That's your Jesus story.
Well, I suppose since religion plays such a big part in this, kind of putting our own kind of religious grounding into it, I guess would help.
Yeah,
Thank you, Go.
It would, and
Don't
that's
stand up for him.
I'm trying, man.
No, don't. Just don't. Come on.
And that's something that so John sent some thoughts about this, because I wanted to get his thoughts of about 30 coins, because he was very eager to hear us talk about it. And yes, I think your perspective on this will be dictated by your relationship with religion. I do think that could be a part of this. So I think that's a great idea, Goro, is kind of maybe imparting a little bit of knowledge of our sort of like history with religion. You don't have to go into deep, dark details, but because it may be dark, who knows? But how about you, Aries? Is anything you care to bring up?
Well, Father O'Flanagan touched me where my bathing suit covers.
Jesus.
You said you wanted dark.
But that was at your son's wedding, though.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
That was last August.
That's it?
I'm sorry. I was raised Catholic. I'm not practicing anymore. But beyond that, I mean, I don't want to. That's about all I. Yeah, that's all I
That's
got.
fine. Whatever you want to share. You don't have to. Yeah. Goro, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I was raised in a very non-religious household. We were essentially non-denominational Christian, but we never really put any effort into it. I mean, we said a Catholic grace that we got from my dad, but we never really went to church. I was baptized Lutheran just because my great uncle was a Lutheran minister, but religion was never really a big thing in our household. We would talk about it from kind of an academic standpoint, but it was never something that was part of my upbringing.
All right. And for me, I mean, religion wasn't a big part of my life either. I grew up, my mother Jewish and my dad was Catholic. Parents got divorced early, so I did celebrate both with each of them separately. And it's funny, I know we're not necessarily talking about the holidays, but everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky you got both," and like, not really, because like single parents, they can't really afford all that much, and so I probably got the same as most kids got. But we did celebrate the Jewish holidays in my house growing up, and I went to Hebrew school until second grade, and I basically told my mom, like, yeah, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not enjoying this. And she's like, okay, you don't have to go. And that was it, you know? And so since then, I never really had a relationship with religion. I've kind of come to terms a little bit more about things lately, about, you know, about my beliefs, I guess. And, but I did have my best friend growing up was devout Christian, and he would go to church on, you know, every weekend. So a lot of times if I stayed over his house, I would go as well that following day. And it just kind of was laughable to me. Like, I just was like, this is crazy, you know, and going to, especially you guys, Aries and Raven Shadow, I'm pretty sure we all went to the same wedding, but there was one wedding that was a Roman Catholic wedding.
Oh no, did they do the full mass?
Yes,
Oh God.
I was like fuming. I could
We
not.
all-
Yeah, I could
we all-
not believe what I was seeing. I'd never been to a Roman Catholic wedding. It is fucking scary.
Oh man, go to an Eastern Orthodox at some point. It's even worse.
Oh God.
See, I was always scared of religion. I think it was the. I guess maybe it was reading too many comic books or whatnot. But yeah, the whole master and kneel before someone, like the villain
Zod.
always.
Zod.
The villains always want to make the hero subjugate them to kneel and have masters and things like that. So religion was always very scary for me as a child. And I guess I always asked questions. And I was like, well, but what about if this? You know what I mean? Like, some things just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't forced. And I'm very happy that it wasn't forced on me. When I was in Italy, I did go to the Vatican because, you know, when in Rome, what the fuck?
Yeah, sure.
Literally when in Rome.
Hey, they got the best art collection in the world because they stole it from everywhere.
They're still like, I'm taking that, motherfucker.
But I mean, even in the context show, there is not a lot of, at least in the episodes we watched, not a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings about religion, shall we say?
Yeah.
That it's kind of viewed in a sort of an antagonistic mode. And that is kind of appropriate, considering, I mean, if you look at some of the other stuff that Alex de la Iglesia did, going back to Day of the Beast, which also had a very subversive view on Catholicism, and is appropriate when we take into account the history of Spain. Because one of the things, I mean, Catholicism and Spain have been entwined going back a long time. Spanish Inquisition came right out of there. But in more recent years, we've seen a sort of pushback against Catholicism as a result of the fact that in the 20th century, when Spain was under fascistic rule under Franco, he basically went hand in hand with the Catholic Church to kind of legitimize his regime. And then they formed like this sort of national Catholicism, which was all wrapped up in his fascist ideology. So as they shifted away from that, we saw a lot more people that basically conflated the Catholic Church with fascistic rule. And that's where you get guys kind of like Alex de la Iglesia and other people that are pushing back against Catholicism, have some very negative things to say about it, because for the longest time, they couldn't. And for the longest time, if you were anti-Catholic, you were going to get shot in the street.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, man.
And there is, in this country, in America, there's a lot of people think that to live here, you need to be Christian. Like that, there's, in some places, there is no separation of church and state, so to speak, and a lot of people want that, like if you live here, you worship Jesus or whatever, and it's really kind of like, it's kind of sad. Like, I mean, this country was founded like by people who weren't very religious, right? Like,
or
at least not Catholic.
Everyone left the fucking Europe because for religious freedom.
Yeah.
And
let's be fair. The Pilgrims came over here because Europe wasn't letting them oppress other people.
Right.
The myth is it was for religious freedom. Yeah, it was the religious freedom to be fucking weird dicks.
They had their own religion, and the name of it escapes me right now. But they were making their own religion here and forcing everyone to be a part of that.
Yeah. And Europe wasn't going to stand for that, so they had to fuck off to the New World to do it.
We're gonna get on a boat. We don't know fucking what's over there. We might fall off the end, but we're fucking going. Come on.
Yep,
So was it Puritan separatists?
that sounds right.
Yeah. Let's.
Puritanism.
Yes, yeah, I believe so. Puritan, yeah, the Puritan. The
Hey, you
Puritans,
guys
yeah.
are in the New England stuff. You guys should have the grounding in that stuff.
But none of it sounds fun. Like I'm gonna join the Puritan party. Ah, fuck. Music's gonna suck. You're gonna wear fucking outfits. No one's smoking. What the fuck?
So yeah, I mean, it really does feel like Iglesias is drawing a lot from the Catholic tradition and to build the horror of all of this, but not presenting them as the heroes of the story. I mean, it's hard to say because we haven't watched the entire series, but even our badass Padre, he's got some skeletons in his closet, and he's not a traditional hero.
Freezer. Let me read some of John's thoughts real quick, and then we can kind of bounce off of these a little bit and maybe go in some other directions. But so John says, my thoughts and background. He said the flow of the show to me was near perfect. The opening was a grab you moment that went from calm to chaos in a blink. The portrayal of the small city folk came across as completely grounded. Typically with movies, the decisions made don't feel like something someone would do or react how you think someone would. But to me, the progression and arc from belief to doubt to blame to anger, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the weakest points were the spineless mayor, who seems to have a spine. It felt forced, and the veterinarian. As it's a show, character establishment for lines later in the series, I get, but they slowed the pacing. He goes on to say, I also loved and found the depth of the priest to be refreshing. Even if this was a standalone 80-minute movie, he was understandable but completely relatable too. He was sympathetic while harboring a long ton of anger. He said English conversion for a metric ton.
Nice.
I found from the various sequences me doubting the validity of what was shown and how I was interpreting it. It felt well built to kind of play with the audience's expectations and seemed to goad me into thinking about what was happening and not just coming along for the ride. In this way, the storytelling and direction reminded me of a Lynch, as he does the same, but doesn't always give a pathway to connect all the parts together. I appreciated the mixture of CG, even though it wasn't current quality. It didn't break the story for me. With the occasional practical effect, even the added blood, I didn't feel that this had anything to do with shock, but I saw it as showing the level of violence being above what would be expected, like the kills in Malignant, for example.
Sure.
Let's see. He's got another. I just want to make sure this is all part of episode 1. Okay, yeah, he goes on to say, also, I found a very personal connection to the story in that there are a few portions of the Bible that I believe are not interpreted as they should for modern day. These are that Lucifer is a sympathetic character who is unjustly punished for having a human emotion. This is best shown in Paradise Lost by Sir Saint Thomas Milton, as Lucifer stood outside the garden just before becoming a snake and tempting Eve. He weeps and says, "Forgive me for what I'm about to do." His only sins are pride and jealousy. And he goes on to say, Pontius Pilate gives the best lesson in the whole thing. Not doing something or inaction is a decision, and in so an action with consequences. This helped me with apathy and is best summed up by a line from Clerks. Shit or get off the pot.
Sure.
Judas's betrayal and payment. The use of Judas and the coins have been in an uncountable number of films and stories. To me, he represents the truest face of the average person by acting without consideration of long-term consequences and basing decisions on only how it affects you. He is a completely unsympathetic character, even in the end. It always felt like this was the actual betrayal, not the apple from the tree. And this was done with no outside interference to humanity. And his final thought here, he says, a lot of this may seem a bad view on people and society, and the truth is this is what I see reflected in the characters. The story can't be separated from religion, and while it's based in Catholicism, the ideas could be adapted into other ideologies.
Oh, most certainly. And again, one of the big interplays, at least with episode 1, is that same sort of dance of belief versus sort of practicality, and the idea of people using the supernatural as a way to cover up more mundane things. Now, the twist of it is that this is an explicitly supernatural show, and when the shit hits the fan, it does so in spectacular fashion. But the early goings of it, I mean, the fact that when one of the first times we're introduced to Father Vegata, he is kind of putting aside the more supernatural explanation for things. And, for the benefit of the listeners, the idea that one of the first things we're shown in it is a baby being born to a cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, this cow's giving birth and they pull out a baby, a really ugly baby. And so everyone thinks it's a miracle or it's satanic. And then there's this priest saying, no, it's obviously a trick. They switched the babies and somebody's trying to cover up an illegitimate child.
Yeah, and it was really funny to see how everyone was going into like crisis mode. Like the mayor is like, this can't get out. Like, so everyone believed that, like, not going to say it's a lie, but believe that narrative, right? Of this, this cow gave birth to a baby, like, and then and then the father comes in and he's like, yeah, no, like they just switched. Someone just put the baby there, and we still don't know. I mean, like it was never fully shown, but I mean that's the assumption based on the evidence of what, if of the. They're like, yeah, they sent you away, and then someone grabbed the baby and put it in the cow, and yeah. So, but you're right though. That is kind of interesting. It's sort of an interesting allegory of a lot of kind of like stories in religion and in the Bible, right? It's about belief and what you see versus fact versus fiction.
And it's even
can I just say no? I hate to interrupt, but there was the most Raven Shadow line in this movie at that point where the mayor was like, no one tweet this, keep this off your phones. Yeah. And then someone went, what about Facebook?
No, you can't put it on
Facebook. That was just like so Raven Shadow, just like, well, I'm not on Twitter. Can I put it on Facebook? Like that just not understanding the whole like keep this off fucking social media. I'm using one example, but
yeah, and it's appropriate that John brought up Lynch because there were certain parts of this that the kind of presentation of the town, particularly the mayor, it was pitched in that kind of what is almost idyllic but still somewhat comical way that Lynch would play with in Twin Peaks. It was I was getting that same kind of vibe off of that, and there is elements of humor throughout this entire thing, which is appropriate because Alex de la Iglesia, he doesn't back away from humor in so many of his other stuff that I've seen.
Yeah. No, and it's not like that belly roll laughter type of thing. It's very subtle, like almost 2 lines later, you're like, wait, that was a fucking joke. Like
yep.
it hits you like later on and you don't laugh, it just makes you kind of grin at it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that does come from the mayor. I mean, initially I was thinking it's like, oh, this spineless little guy. And then I realized, oh no, he's a kind of comedic character. It's subtle, but that's what he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let me take a quick step back because I want to talk about the opening of this. We did briefly touch on it, but
geriatric Terminator.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. That's beautiful.
So the episode opens on geriatric Terminator, this old dude who's just literally just going about his business. Looks like he has what?
I said, yeah, talk about that.
Well, why don't you talk about it? You're so excited.
I want you to talk about it because you're smarter than I am, but like, you forget like it's like a weird geriatric Terminator version of the scene of Joker in The Dark Knight. It was a weird fucking similarities, but go Johnny. Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh my God. Do we need to get you some gum to chew to like occupy your mouth?
Yes, he does.
Don't embarrass me in front of Goro.
Too late.
You're fine, guys. But yeah, I mean, we open this old guy in the middle of Switzerland just walking into a bank. Everything seems fine until he just pulls out a gun and just starts mowing people down. Then he takes some rounds from a security guard, doesn't even notice, doesn't even flinch,
doesn't
just turns and shoots him.
Completely unfazed. Yep.
And I love that. It immediately sets you on your back. You're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this. And just, again, the casualness of the slaughter, all leading up to a scene that felt like right out of Constantine. He gets into a limo and there's a priest there. And then the priest just promptly rips off an amulet and the guy collapses. Like, oh, he was an animated corpse the entire time.
Yeah.
As Marion pointed out, he's a golem,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, right from the jump, it has us. It primes us to not trust clergy, because it's shown that a priest was behind that. And then later on, when we get introduced to the kind of the sinister cabal of Vatican authorities, it's interesting because they're presented as much of a sinister force as the demonic forces that are at play within these two episodes.
I mean, what gave it away? Their record, as far as the clergy go.
Well, yeah.
I mean, nothing. I would hang with the Satanists because they have better music.
But at least from a movie standpoint, we're not too terribly dissimilar or unfamiliar with the concept of kind of the Catholic superhero, and that goes all the way back to like The Exorcist, where who was the good guy in that movie? It's two priests.
Yeah.
So even regardless of your views on religion, as horror fans, we get kind of primed to accept certain symbols as being, hey, these are the good guys. And in a traditional demonic type movie, if somebody's wearing a collar, chances are they're the good guy. De La Iglesias subverts that right from the jump. And even when we get introduced to, the more sympathetic Father Vergara, even he has these sort of darker tendencies, and I'm sure will get explored out later in the series. But just from the context of these two episodes, or just looking at the first episode on its own, it's that level of ambiguity. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And Raven Shadow, I figured you'd be all back behind the whole religious superhero aspect of this, like superhero good guy with, John Constantine or Jesse Custer.
But I'm confused because John Constantine and Jesse Custer, like Jesse didn't want to be a preacher. His evil grandma forced him into it. And then he went on a quest to find God because God left his post and he had to fucking own up for leaving his flock. So I don't think God was fucking the Technicolor. I don't think Jesse Custer was Joseph the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Not so much.
I think he was the anti, thing like that. Like, I mean, maybe who was granted he's a dick now, but James Woods in John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yep.
Maybe that team was kind of an okay religious team, but like, yeah, no, I mean, like.
Well, regardless of how they got into it, it's still Jesse Custer and John Constantine. They're still the religious superhero, and that is exactly what this priest is.
I think Vergara is more akin to John than
Jesse.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jesse would fucking punch that demon in the balls. Dude.
Hey, there was a scene where Vergara dropped all his bullets in the font so they could become holy bullets.
It's true.
Yeah,
that was pretty badass.
Like that. That's a fucking like Vergara, Jesse Custer, and John at that town, and throwing like Antonio Banderas and Desperado. That's a fucking or the Hoss from Train to Busan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't get cookie cutter versions of the same character, otherwise it's boring.
Sure.
So this is just a new take on that religious superhero.
Yep.
Or religious anti-hero, like.
However you want to word it. I mean, this type of character, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Sure.
So fine. Dead Alive, I kick ass for the Lord, right? I mean,
there you go. There's your religious superhero right
yes,
there.
exactly.
That's your religious Superman right there.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Father Vergara because he, I'm definitely going to continue the series. Like, I want to know more about him. Like
Mhm.
he is super compelling, a super compelling character. And when we meet him, like when we see I can't remember the kid's name, Antonio, the one who threw himself off the building. I
Yeah, it
think
was Antonio.
Antonio, yeah. But when he sees Antonio, Antonio is like rummaging through his guns, like he's got like a like a huge fucking cache of guns, and it's like a priest with guns. Like what the fuck is this? And
Yep.
because when we meet him, like I think he's first boxing, like he's punching a heavy bag, and so that definitely seems a little out of character for most what you think of most like fathers in this case. But yeah, to see him like hitting a heavy bag, and then he's got a whole fucking cache of guns, and okay, this isn't your typical fucking father padre.
Yep.
So that was kind of like a real, like, that's such a great little thread that I really want to follow up on and see where the fuck this goes with this guy, because like he definitely has demons, like literally. And, I want to know more about his backstory and like how he got to be here. And, we do get a little bit of it. We see with, he had an exorcism years ago when he had hair. So, and this is sort of what got him in the outs of the Vatican, I would imagine.
Well, that's funny. Speaking of John Constantine, a botched exorcism going wrong.
True.
Sure. And it also sets up, the fact that he was presenting sort of that doubting of the supernatural, and it feels like this is his way of compensating. Again, kind of like in the Constantine thing, he knows without a doubt that there are supernatural things going on in the world.
Yeah.
However, he chooses to take on a rationalist approach to things. He chooses to deny them because as he puts forward at one point to Elena, if you believe it, then it becomes real.
Yep.
So if you don't believe it, it won't be real. Now, obviously, as this goes along, that whole philosophy isn't really holding up that well, but you can see that as his sort of compensation for the fact that he went face to face with something legitimately evil, lost, and this is the way that he's dealing with it.
Which is
Now,
funny for... Sorry, this is real quick, Aries. Which is funny for a practitioner of Catholicism to say,
Oh, sure.
it's not lost on me. Like if you believe it or not,
Yeah. But I've met, various clergy. I've met rabbis that had similar views. I've met an ex-priest who had similar views. The idea of viewing it, embracing, the kind of the good aspects of religion without necessarily buying into the supernatural side of things.
yeah.
So they find a way to sort of reconcile it. But for him, it's not a philosophical reconciliation. It's him trying to protect himself.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was super interesting at the, when he sort of had that conversation with Elena, and almost to the point where he is sort of denying that these things were real, making her question whether they actually were or not, or question her sanity, I should say. Like, I felt like that was something like kind of an undercurrent of it. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Which was also an interesting subversion because... Oh, go ahead.
No. Well, no, go ahead. You're going to make far more sense than me.
I just thought it was an interesting subversion because, Elena's a veterinarian, so she's a
Right.
woman of science, medicine, and yet she's willing to jump to the supernatural much more than the guy that we're expecting to jump to the supernatural, the priest.
Right.
So they're playing with these sort of archetypes, they're playing with these sort of paradigms, and they're establishing the dynamics between these characters that, much like you, I'm very interested to see how they'll play out over the course of the remaining 6 episodes beyond the 2 that we watched.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Goro, you've only watched the 2. You're not
Yeah,
speaking further into the future.
Yeah, I've only watched the 2. I've watched them earlier today, and I'm definitely planning on continuing on with the series, though.
Okay, because part of... Yeah, I've paused this for so fucking long, my mind is fucking lost. I had 2 points to make. Hopefully the second will come to me as I'm speaking of the first, where he's talking about, the wanting her not to immediately go to the supernatural or the religious aspect of everything. And he was, I forget the terminology that he used, but it is so easy to go there once you've seen it. So he doesn't want to go there because in a world where anything is possible, it is you don't want to go there. Like, you want to look for the rational before you go to the supernatural,
Sure.
because anything is possible in the supernatural.
Yeah.
So if you can come to a rational decision first, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
I think that's a good point too. And maybe we don't know what, Padre Vergara has been through, aside from the exorcism, like that's really the only thing we've seen in in this episode of what we've seen in his backstory. So, it is kind of, there's a lot of information that's still, to be probably found out about him, and we may find out why he feels this way,
And in certain ways, just kind of just taking a step back and kind of looking at it at the meta level, we do see echoes in his character for previous, aforementioned religious superheroes. I mean, there are lines that you can draw between him and Jason Miller from The Exorcist, Father Karras, about down to the fact that they were both boxers, but also the fact that they were the people that were pushing for the scientific explanation before jumping to the supernatural. I mean, when Ellen Burstyn goes to see him, he's saying, what I recommend? Put her in an asylum. She needs observation. She doesn't need an exorcism.
Yeah. I think Ares froze. Are you guys seeing him frozen?
Yeah, I think he did freeze.
Frozen, yeah.
Oh no, he's blinking.
Oh,
Am I back?
You're back.
Welcome,
just holding...
welcome to 1985 computer technology.
He was just being very still.
Yeah. You have to did someone pick up the phone to use it? You had to kick them off and use the dial up.
All right, I wish there was a more high tech reason for me crashing, but my computer wasn't plugged in. It died.
Oh. All right.
In the middle of me talking, I'm looking down. I see the battery thing say 2%, and I'm like, "That's odd. It's never said that." And then the screen went black.
Dude, you've described like 40% of the jobs that I do. It's the fixes that I apply. So don't feel bad.
I feel bad that in the middle of what I was saying, I blacked out. Technology speaking,
yeah,
not real world, because
you need some more whiskey before that happens.
The night is young.
Yeah. My fucking bottle is empty.
Oh no.
And another real big reason I'm looking forward to going into deeper in these episodes, and we saw it with the two, that even though there is an overarching story, at least with these two episodes, they've kind of set up a almost sort of monster of the week sort of format.
Yeah.
Because in the first one, we have the spider baby. In the second... What's that, Raven Shadow?
Okay, keep going. I'm gonna. Yeah.
But in the first one, we got the spider baby. The second one, we have the shenanigans with the Ouija board. And one of the things I was reading about is this was very deliberate on the behalf of De La Iglesia, and it comes, and this is why I appreciate it so goddamn much. Apparently, he's a gigantic geek, and he grew up playing the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game.
Oh.
And he deliberately designed this show along with his co-writer who's worked with him quite a few times. Let's see if I can don't manage to butcher the name. It is, where is it? It's Jorge Guerra Echevarria. That's the best I can do. But they designed it to essentially mimic the structure of a Call of Cthulhu campaign, where each individual episode is like running a module, and then all of the episodes together are like a campaign. So each one will be somewhat standalone, but still have kind of a through line of a plot going through it. And looking ahead on some later episodes, I saw some screenshots. Yeah, they go deep into some mythos lore with some of the monsters that iconic figure, not as iconic as Cthulhu, but if you're a fan of Lovecraft, you recognize him later on.
Well, it's funny you say that, Goro, because like when I watched this with Marion yesterday, and we didn't know anything but what Johnny mentioned last episode. We just put on and press play. watched the first episode, got some dinner, put on the next one, and almost when we started the second episode, man was like, "Oh, is it an anthology series? Like, is 30 pieces? Is it going to be 30 stories of these coins?"
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, within the first like 15 minutes, we're like, no, this is the same characters from before. But I almost wondered it could have been an anthology, but obviously there is that through line of where it keeps going. But I'm definitely fascinated about where it does go. This is batshit crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the descriptions I've heard about it when I was doing some reading, yeah, each episode is like a different kind of threat and a different kind of horror trope they're dealing with, but still the same characters moving through.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that too is seeing all of De La Iglesia's films. I've seen a few of them. I would say of the ones that I've seen, sort of a hallmark of his is they're I wouldn't call him like Lynchian, but they're very bizarre. Like
Yeah.
you know, he's got bizarre characters, and the plots don't always, you know, like go from A to B. Like this is probably, of the things that I've seen of his, the most sort of direct narrative in terms of like it feels more. I don't mean mainstream necessarily, but it's just more sort of like formulaic storytelling. Whereas in his, it's definitely feels different. He's taking you on a journey, but on this, I feel like he's doing it on purpose. That he's telling it in this way so it has a different impact than how his films typically go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a much stronger structure to it.
Yeah.
Where, again, something like Day of the Beast, man, strap in with Day of the Beast and go for that ride.
That's actually one that I haven't seen of his. I've seen like The Last Circus, and you know, we did Witching and Bitching on the show, and there's a couple others that I've seen of his. But you know, Last Circus was the one that was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? You know, and
Sure.
I think I saw that before we even started doing the show. But yeah, I mean, I've admired him as a director, but it's cool to see him take a different tactic with his storytelling in this. And he is a very creative dude. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm not comparing him to Del Toro, but I feel like there is definitely some connective tissue there.
I could see that.
And I don't know if it's just being Spanish, like with the way they were brought up. I think they're probably close in age, maybe. So I don't know if there's some connection there, but yeah, it's a really interesting way to tell the story. And yeah, I mean, just in the 2 episodes that we've seen, I'm really curious to see where it's going to go from here. And I was expecting it to be a single narrative, like with a through line of, okay, we have this spider baby thing. Like, this is going to go for an entire season,
Yeah, those kind of monsters.
Yeah. But, it was interesting that in the first episode that, they, in essence, like they said to, like destroy the totem, and then the spider kind of goes away,
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I love the character of Padre Vergara. Such a badass character, and to see how he handles himself, and he's armed to the teeth, and he's knowledgeable, but there's definitely a darkness and a dark history to his character that I'm super curious to find out where it's going to go.
Well, it's how he got there, right?
Right.
I mean, like, he had a position of privilege, things went askew, and now he got banished, essentially, like Tatooine.
Tatooine.
And, he ended up in a real small town.
Yeah.
Probably by choice.
And shit.
All right, and now I hate because they're gonna disappear if I don't fucking interrupt.
Do it.
Good.
I have 2 thoughts. Hopefully they retain it in this fucking small brain of mine. Going way back to what was said earlier on with the mayor being weak. I don't think necessarily the mayor's weak. I think the mayor is trying to please his wife.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. I don't think his true identity is laid out for us. I think because doesn't want to anger the wife, trying to please her, but trying to do what is natural to him. I think he is going to progress as a character as the show progresses.
Oh, definitely. He definitely has the most room for those kind of arcs.
Yeah, and I am anxious to see how he progresses. God damn it! The second thought is gone again. Fuck him!
I'm sorry.
Shit today. No. That was not you. It was like I had both of them, and like I should have like made a note. But god damn it, the second thought is gone. God damn it! I have like half booze, half just like world. Like my brain is shit. Like this last week. I apologize.
You're
and
good,
if
man.
this pops into my head, I am going to interrupt whoever is talking because
That's fine.
it is just like, god damn it, I'm pissed. Okay, someone else talk.
I think the mayor was weak-willed. I think he was trying to compensate for the masses. Like you can't have a cow giving birth to a baby and have that on the internet. That's not good for your town. That's not good.
The only reason I say that it was kind of the weak-willed because there were moments where he would, it's like I forget the exact context, but there was a time where somebody asked him a question. It's like, is it going to be this? And he was like, no. Well, actually, yes. But that sort of thing. He is the consummate politician. He's presented, and they say that he is the shoulder that the entire town cries on. Yeah. That is his role. Keeping everybody happy, dealing with everybody's problems, and it doesn't feel like he has much of a personality beyond that. Now, I'm sure that as the series goes along, we even got hints of it in the second episode, we're going to see him come into his own. And I was, again, back to that interview I found with De La Iglesia, he was saying that one of the appeals that he had with doing a television series is the opportunity to develop these kind of characters. And he even called out Paco in particular as a character that sees development as the show goes along, and how in a film he's not always given the opportunity to have that kind of time and freedom to show the transformation of a character.
Yeah. And watch two. I'm sorry, go Johnny. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I was basically just gonna agree that you can definitely take a much larger story arc and do more in terms of development in a series, as obviously as we know. So it is interesting to see where Paco starts, and I'm curious to see where he's going to end up. Also, I'm pretty curious about the character of Elena. There's something I really like. She is a very cool character to me, and and just how interested she is in this whole thing. Especially with the baby, like she was kind of driving a lot of the action with that and trying to get Paco, the mayor, to take action, and, and he's only worried about re-election. That's kind of like his thing. And, he goes to her place to kind of talk about it. And then there's like, paparazzi outside or people outside. And he's like, I can't leave your house because that's going to look bad re-election, And he is doing things to appease his wife, who probably made him run for office, it seemed like. At least I got that impression. So,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So, it is interesting to see the development, and there's definitely some chemistry between those two characters as well. But yeah, I thought that Elena was kind of a badass character for being a veterinarian, and how she's kind of thrust into this whole story.
Yep. And even she has kind of a darker backstory, as episode 2 was alluding towards.
Yeah, true.
And her own connections into the supernatural.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
But as far as the mayor goes, like he gets himself into a spot and then he realizes he's in that spot and how am I going to get out of it? Like he doesn't, at the beginning, he doesn't think about his political career. It's only after what he's gunning himself into that he's thinking about it. So it's an afterthought, and that is why I think that it's more of someone else's forethought is why it's his afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think you could be right. I did want to go back to the opening credits of this, which were very interesting. It's basically it's a very brief telling of the story of Judas kind of selling out Jesus for 30 silver coins. But the way that it's produced is really surreal, and
Mhm.
it looks really cool. It even that, like, I think the like spookiest part about it is that look that Jesus gives Judas, like when he realizes, it gives him
Yeah.
this like maniacal, like laughing almost as he's like hanging on the cross,
Yep. It's just like you've condemned yourself.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine this on channel like ABC?
No.
Like
No.
how wild that would be. Like you'd be like, yeah, this fucking, fucking Family Feud, Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, 30 pieces is a program. Enjoy that.
Yeah.
Up next is fucking 30 Rock. I'm not sure what's on TV anymore. Story of Us. But yeah, fucking yeah, Judas Priest.
Raptor in the chat room says, and I think this may be our buddy.
That would be John.
Yeah. John says the comment on the mayor was based on knowing what was right, but not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
definite shift after the spider baby run-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The mayor was more into the punani, right? Was he like the girl?
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right.
When was who? I've never heard anyone else use that word but you and The Rock.
He's bringing it back.
It's a word, I'll tell you now.
No, he's not. He's not bringing it back. He may be trying, but he's not doing it.
Just saying, it's still a word.
Yeah, it doesn't
Fuck.
make it right.
No, fuck. It came to me. The people, I don't even know how to fucking say it. The whole spider baby and people not believing. I don't think it's necessarily established as to what is reality in this world yet.
Okay.
I mean, we are seeing what we are supposed to see, but we are not necessarily seeing reality. And that is why there is a question as to what is happening. Because there is plausible believability to the hallucinations and just everything else that's happening, that only certain people are seeing certain things at certain times.
Sure.
So we are like left to believe that, although like in the religious aspect, you know what, there could be a demon running around, but in real world, there's no fucking demons. They're not running around. So it's just, we don't know what is actually real in this world yet. Each
Sure.
character has their own belief as to what is real.
Yeah.
But we don't know yet.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that as the series progresses, that ambiguity is going to dramatically shift away. I mean, even in episode 2, there were certain moments of that where wild shit was happening, but it didn't leave an aftermath, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the reality is kind of breaking down around this.
Yeah, no, I don't believe this is going to be 100% reality based, but the level is going to be toned down to what we see.
John says, yeah, that was a big point I liked until Spider Baby.
It's the Spider Baby.
So Spider Baby, I guess, I mean, I don't want to like spoil this for somebody who hasn't seen it. I guess I won't say too much more, but it's interesting to see the what happened with the baby. And I don't remember, Carmen, was that the mother's name? The one who was, that's the one who was taking care of the baby, the surrogate mother. Yeah. And that whole thing was fucking awesome. Like, I loved like the stuff with her and her husband and the baby. And then when Elena goes to see them, and like, the father basically, he couldn't like hold back anymore, and he had to tell Elena, he had to tell somebody what was going on. And then so Elena goes to see the baby, and now the baby is like a few days later is almost as tall as the mom.
The giant creepy baby.
Yeah, it's fucking, so it's a little creepy. And then like what happens after that, there's like some pretty crazy stuff, but the stuff with Carmen I thought was really like pretty fucking spooky and pretty awesome. And I just think there's some really strong stuff in there, especially the kind of like the spider webs that in the house, like how they did those. Yeah, I thought that was really, there's some really good imagery in that, and just even just some really strong storytelling and the way that they told it and how creepy some of that stuff was. It was really good.
And that's the thing in terms of selling this. I mean, if somebody's kind of on the fence about committing to a new show, I mean, I know there's only 8 episodes, but there's a lot to watch out there, and they may not be inclined to want to set aside the entire time to watch an entire show. The first episode practically stands alone as just kind of a horror film. It comes in at around 90 minutes long, and it's structured like a traditional horror film, while of course leaving things open, leaving certain things unresolved. But you could just watch it as a standalone horror film and really enjoy it, provided you don't mind reading subtitles.
Yeah, exactly, Aries, right?
Exactly, yes. Now I just wanted to go backwards a little bit to the baby when its second introduction, where it was growing a little bit. I do like how they masked the practical effects. Like it was done very well, but I couldn't help but think Garbage Pail Kids.
When that thing first showed up, when it was right on the side of the road, I don't know if it was intended, but I was getting really strong. You remember that film Extra?
Yes.
Yeah, when you saw the alien on the side of the road, that shot reminded me so much of Extra.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was,
That's what you meant, because you had mentioned that earlier. I was wondering what.
Yep. Yeah. There's your Extra reference.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming this isn't high budget, and they did decent work for what probably they had, where there was bad computer CGI with the Spider Baby.
Yeah, but it didn't look. It wasn't enough to drive me to distraction. I think that, as you say, they did a good job of using it sparingly, and most importantly, they kept it in the dark. And those are ways that you can sell CG effects regardless of your budget. And I think they did a good job of constructing the film to hide the majority of the weaknesses while emphasizing the strengths.
And you know what? When it, like, the initial reveal, when there were the ambulances driving down, that was done in such a way, like you did get chills from that, and it's just like, at least me, like, it was like, okay, what the mother was holding makes sense. Like, it didn't make sense, and then all of a sudden, oh, that makes sense. Like,
yep.
And it was just like, it was like almost like a duh moment, but it was just like, holy shit, and it was so creepy. But it was only when, like, didn't need to have that bit of suspense that the CGI was a little lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I actually thought none of it bothered me. Like, I even thought the stuff with the Spider Baby towards the end of the first episode was done well. Like, the way that they executed it, I thought was great, because you saw just enough, and it's not like you saw too much that it sort of like killed the illusion. I feel like it did everything really well. And I mean, sure, I get it. This is a show they probably didn't have a huge budget to do, but I think what they did with it was super effective.
Agreed.
So I know we mostly been talking about the first episode. And we did talk a little about the second, but I do want to start to wind things down here. Is there anything else about? Well, let me take a step back. So, anything else about Father Vergara? Because as we talked about, he is a total badass. There's just something so very compelling about this character, and kind of what you said earlier, Raven Shadow. Like, I was definitely getting some like vibes of other cool characters, whether it's like Constantine or like even like Jesse Custer, where he just kicks ass. Like, I was getting, they're sort of cut from the same cloth, like these badass characters, and I feel like it was written for our, for us, like and what we enjoy, So, in hearing that De La Iglesia is such a fanboy of horror and everything too, everything sort of makes sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was a fan of comic books and and things like that as well. So this, I don't know, I think this character is really just a badass character, and I'm eager to find out more about Father Vergara.
And
Yeah.
you could even throw in maybe a little bit of Cable there, like, and it's. I mean, there's some characters you mentioned. Like, I don't. Jesse Custer is not fucking Pope John Paul. Let's not fucking get twisted.
Well, yeah.
Let's not get it fucking there. I would say in terms of the handful of clergy that I would think are cool. Once again, Dead Alive Priest, and right now Father Vergara. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of the previous work. I'm not looking forward to this. But I would say the Father Vergara, for what we've seen so far, is that dope, badass, almost like even like an angry fucking Santa Claus, like we saw the one that fought Lobo in the paramilitary special, like that badass motherfucker. I'm curious, and he's banished.
By the way, Father Magruder, that was the name of the priest from Dead Alive.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to remember it.
That's a crossover.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Is there anything else you guys want to bring up about maybe the second episode that we hadn't touched on?
I think we hit a lot of the salient points. Again, It was interesting that they're establishing the Catholic cabal as, again, just as threatening as sort of the demonic forces, which I think was a very interesting take, and one thing that I'm certainly interested to see as it goes along. And that's the thing about talking about this, that while, again, the first episode is very standalone, they're nevertheless building a larger narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where it's going. I think it's going to go into some wild places based upon Iglesias's track record. But I'm very, very interested to continue on with it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to do as we sort of go to the verdict is, is this a show you guys are going to continue to watch, or, I think that's the true test of whether or not we liked it, and even though we're not doing it for the show. So I guess when we do hit the verdict, let's sort of also discuss that.
Sure.
Yeah, there is a lot to really unpack in this show, and we've only seen 1/4 of the first season, so it's hard for us to really speak about the character development and the arcs because we've only seen 2 episodes. All of us have only seen the first 2 episodes, so it's difficult for us to really go further than that. But I mean, there is a lot. They set up a lot of really great stuff. Father Vergara is such a character already. I'm curious about Paco and Elena and what they're gonna do, and what is in Father Vergara's his history, like what is coming after him, and how is he the way he is, and these are all things that I'm super curious to find out. And I do know that season 2 is, I'm not sure if it's done. I think they announced the date, so it must be done. Let me take a look and see if I can find that information. But since season 1 came out early last year, I assume we'll probably see season 2 sometime this year. Oh, actually, no. Okay, so it says, at least on IMDb, it says will air in 2023. So it looks like it won't be this year, but but sometime next year. So we have several months now to check out the other 6 episodes before we get a season 2. So that's cool, at least. All right, well, let's head to the verdict on this one, because I'm curious to see what you guys ultimately thought, and whether or not you're gonna continue to watch this on your own.
Trick or treat, baby.
I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
All right. Well, apparently Busta is not going to appear because it was taking forever. So sorry for those watching the previously, and why he recommended this. I would say that he would go with a treat for this. But how about El Goro? What are your thoughts? Trick or treating, and are you going to continue to watch this?
Yeah, this was a definite treat for me. One of the things that you can run into problems with the idea of serialized horror, just horror television series, is that they're not always good at essentially stretching the concept. They don't always come up with a strong enough hook to sustain it over several episodes, and so you end up with a lot of padding. From where this series seems to be going very, very good is by mixing up the kind of horror that they're interacting with, from the demonic horror of the first one into the more spiritual Ouija stuff in the second one, and using that with a strong core cast of characters, are essentially our main three. I think that that's a very good way to structure a horror television show. It keeps things interesting, and it certainly has my attention. But just looking at these first two episodes, I mean, this was very well executed horror. And from a tonal standpoint, from an effects standpoint, and from strength of performances, this was a treat across the board. Again, if you're not willing to commit to an entire run of this show, watch the first episode. It's a movie unto itself. And then if you're anything like me, you're probably going to be stoked to see what comes next. So yeah, definitely a treat for me, and I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this series.
Nice. All right. How about you, Aries?
Yeah, apparently there was a lot going on in this show that was just coming into my mind and disappearing, because as we were talking, it was in my head that was there and was gone. It was mentioned that Father, I forget the name, Father Dave. Vergara. Yeah, I'm horrible with names. With the flashback, and it was said that he lost that battle. I don't believe that necessarily would go down as a loss. As far as, the war between good and evil, and this being a battle, I think that battle was won. And you're seeing the repercussions of that loss by evil trying to regain their position. And that is where we are with this show. And it's the evil trying to regain its footing. And although the priest is at a weakness because of where he went through with that battle, I do believe it would be considered a win for him. But moving beyond that, not trying to bring it back into discussion mode. This show has some going against me personally. One, subtitles. Everyone knows I'm not a fan of subtitles. Two, I am not overly fond of religious horror. That is kind of played out for me. There's been enough of it, and it is very just usually kind of one-dimensional. It needs to have a different aspect for me to be interested. And although this show started out very one-dimensional as far as the religious horror, it was done very well. And then the second episode, diving into the Ouija board, although that is played into the religious horror, it is its own thing, separate from the Catholicism aspect of the religious horror. So this show does have the potential to really go down the rabbit hole of many aspects of religious horror. And another show I spoke of a while back that was very good was the show Evil, and it did kind of play into a lot of different aspects. This show definitely has that potential, and being on HBO, to be a lot more gory and a lot more graphic. So this show is definitely worth watching. Check it out.
All right. Raven Shadow.
No, I think Goro's point of just watch the pilot. It could be one and done if you dig that for a supernatural, demonic machinations. And maybe take it to, right, wrong, or indifferent. People can get pissy about it. but much like The Walking Dead, where it's a zombie movie that keeps going after the credits end. This could be a demonic possession that keeps going after fucking Reagan, washes up her fucking pea soup or whatever the fuck. You can keep it going. I like where this is going. And I'm really intrigued by this. And I got to say, big props to John, because I probably would not have watched this if he hadn't recommended it for the Patreon. And I know there's a lot of content on HBO Max, a lot of HBO Europa they're doing, and it's a great time to be a fanboy, fan person, or into nerd culture. The word there's plagues, there's World War III brewing, but goddamn, we have some great content, entertainment. So if we're gonna go down, let's fucking stream that shit, bro. But no, I'm really into it. I'm really interested in where this goes. I'm definitely gonna watch it again, and I hope Marion will watch it with me, because I think it's gonna get fucking weird, man. And it's already fucking weird. So yeah, it's definitely a big old blasphemous treat.
Episode 3, I think we find out that it's actually Father Sofia Vergara.
Don't get me going. I do have a thing for Paco's wife. She's a little angry and upset sometimes. Like that.
Because she gets angry?
Nah, she's got a little,
He's got a type. It's okay.
Yeah.
You like the angry women? You like getting yelled at?
Well, I mean, we know his mom used to not yell at him, knock it off.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, for me, I really dug this. And as Raven Shadow says, props to John for bringing this to the forefront. I was aware of it because I'm obviously familiar with Alex de la Iglesia, and I had wanted to check it out, and I don't know, like it came out early last year, and there was other stuff I was watching, I guess. Probably Mandalorian maybe or something and then
A lot of Star Wars.
yeah. So it just was one of those things that kind of, got past me, and then it was like at that point I'd either forgotten about it or moved on to other things. So I'm glad that he did bring this up, and I will definitely continue to watch this. I think it's a super interesting show. It really kind of subverted my expectations about what it was going to be, and I like that. I thought that it was going to be another one of these shows that is, like it ended up sort of being a monster of the week kind of thing, but with a through line, like a good through line. At least that's from 2 episodes. But like there's so many shows out there now that have these long form storytelling formats, and that is awesome, and I love it. But it's refreshing to see them taking a slightly different tactic with this, at least so far. So I'd be curious to see how that continues, if it does. And yeah, I love the character of Father Vergara, and I like a lot of the other characters, and I'm super curious to see where they're going to end up. So yeah, this is a treat for me, and definitely going to continue to watch. And I mean, I'm sure I'll finish season 1 long before season 2 comes out, but I definitely will be checking out season 2 as well when that drops. So yeah, so props to John for bringing this to us, and having us discuss it and watch it. So
Totally, man.
yeah, very cool. All right, well, that is going to wrap up our discussion of 30 coins. And as we mentioned, it is on HBO Max. So if you guys have HBO Max, it's readily available for you. It is subtitled, as Aries begrudgingly admitted. And it's definitely worth a watch. It's very much in our wheelhouse as far as horror goes. So I would, I think, based on what everyone said, it's one you should keep your eyes out for, or make a point to check out. And you can also see Father Aries kicking ass, right? Right, Raven Shadow? Father Aries kicks ass for the Lord. Wait, wouldn't Father Aries kick ass for himself?
Yeah.
Since he's a god?
Fucking Kalantar.
Pass the Kalantar. All right. And so sadly, this is the point in which we say farewell to El Goro, though.
Suck.
Yep.
You pissed, Raven Shadow?
I am a little pissed.
Well, hey.
I'm sorry, man. I'm lame.
Right.
He's got to get up early. He's not like you, Raven Shadow. He doesn't set his alarm for, 3:30 and then wake up and then set it again for 5:30.
I've gotten
And
better.
I wish.
I've gotten better. I set my alarm for when I have to get up, and I
know.
do 15 snooze. I put $20 in my gas tank.
Every
and
morning?
Every damn night.
Every damn night on the telephone?
What's the boy mean on telephone?
Oh, man. All right. So, El Goro, please tell the folks once again where they can locate you and your podcast.
Yeah, for if you don't know, I do a weekly movie discussion podcast called Talk Without Rhythm. You could find it where most podcasts are found. Just do a search for Talk Without Rhythm. You'll find it. The main website is tworpodcast.blogspot.com. Format of the show, pretty much every episode, I select 2 films that are somewhat tied together by a theme, though a lot of the picks these days are turned over to my very generous patrons, some of which join me in on the conversation. So a lot of film exploration, a lot of varied topics. It's the way to be.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of folks on this, that listen to this show have probably at least checked out an episode of Talk Without Rhythm, because we've had Goro on here enough that if you guys don't understand, how intelligent Goro is when it comes to talking about film, you're missing out. So go, and plus it relaxes Raven Shadow. It calms him down.
There you go.
Be down like a motherfucker, man.
I don't know how you can find me relaxing, but I'll take it, man.
So, Goro, thanks again, man. I know this was a little bit short notice, but glad we were able to make it happen, and it was a blast talking about this with you.
Hell yeah, man. Anytime.
All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to El Goro. We're going to take a break, Raven Shadow. He'll be happy about that, and we'll be back just to kind of shoot the shit and wrap things up. So, once again, go check out Talk Without Rhythm, everyone. And Goro, thanks again, man. Take care.
Always. Adios.
You go through your week with the same old routine.
What you really want is some blood and thunder in your life.
Well, friend, you found it.
The Cromcast is an adventurous journey through the history of two-fisted pulp stories.
With your hosts, John,
Josh,
and Luke.
we have action,
horror,
and adventure, all through the lens of pulp luminary Robert E. Howard.
Don't just stay in your ordinary life.
Find your pulp life at thecromcast.blogspot.com.
The Cromcast.
The Cromcast.
The Cromcast.
A podcast for the barbarian at heart.
Hey there, this is R.A. Salvatore, call me Bob, and you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
Trick or Treat Radio is the greatest podcast ever invented. The spelling is very bad. I'm not sure who wrote this. And the Deedites? The Deedites. Is that a company that procures houses? The Deadites. Oh, it's the Deadites. The Deadites are a fantastic musical act. That is what I was supposed to say. And there you go. There it is. Cheeseburger. Remember to Rent the Fly, because that's a good movie for making love to.
Jeff Goldblum, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we can get you on the show again sometime soon.
I mean, yeah, the sexy dicks were cute for a minute.
And we have returned to Trick or Treat Radio. This week's film discussion, just kidding, we already did that. But I will talk about what we're doing next week. So let me pull up the details here. So we just verified. We normally do mystery guess, or we have been, but this is someone I'll just mention who it is. We don't have to necessarily do the mystery thing. But I'm looking forward to this because next week we're going to be doing a film that is a sequel to a film that we talked about in 2015. So it's been 7 years, and they've put out a sequel to a film I think we generally enjoyed, if I recall correctly. And the name of the movie was Wormwood: Road of the Dead. And they have a new sequel, and it's called Wormwood Apocalypse. So we're going to be checking that out. And our guest next week is going to be Steve Van Samson. Steve is an author. He's a podcaster. And he also is part of the Rough House Publishing crew. So, and it's funny, one of the reasons I thought of Steve for this is he has a book called Mark of the Witchworm. And I just thought it was funny that he had worm, same spelling, W-Y-R-M. And we're doing Wormwood Apocalypse. So seemed fitting. And we've been talking about having Steve on again. And I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. Do you remember him being on the show, Aries?
Yeah, I think he was on.
It was back
we were in the
studio.
studio. Yeah. And yeah, that was a long time ago.
So I'll try to pull up the episode. It's probably at this point, it was at least 3 years ago, probably. Maybe even longer. But yeah, should be a good time. Steve's a good dude. He's got a good podcast with the Retro Redoctopus. And yeah, I can't find what episode he was on just by doing a search, but I'll look another way and find it. But yeah, looking forward to that. What do you think of that, Raven Shadow? Steve Van Samson joining us for Wormwood Apocalypse.
I can't wait. I love fucking Steven Van Samson.
Whoa, you love what?
I love the man, Steven.
Okay. Just need some clarity on that, just to make sure.
Let's just change the fucking, what do you call it, verb? I guess it's a verb, right? So wrong verb.
So you love men. Okay.
No, I love that dude. No verb required.
All right, so we did have Steve on episode 358. Banned in Canada was the name of it. And we were joined by Mike Wazon, and Steve Van Samson from Rough House Publishing, and they were talking about Gore Shriek Resurrectus Volume 2. And then we did the film Starfish that week as well. I don't recall if Steve joined us for the discussion or not, but yeah, so there you go. Next week, Steve Van Samson, we're going to talk about Wormwood Apocalypse. Looking forward to this. It's an Aussie zombie flick that they've sort of been talking about a sequel for a bit, and it finally got done, and it's finally getting a release here in the States. And it's directed by Kaya Roach Turner, and we did do another film from Kaya Roach Turner a couple years back. He did that movie Necrotronic. Do you guys remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, so he did Necrotronic. That movie had the dude from Bloody Hell. You remember that movie Bloody Hell that we did?
Yes.
The lead in that was also Ben O'Toole was in Necrotronic, as well as Monica Bellucci was also in that. So I think generally, we liked that one well enough. Definitely wasn't quite as good as Wormwood, but looking forward to the sequel here, Wormwood Apocalypse. So it is available on VOD. You guys can check it out. And I honestly don't know if it's a direct sequel. I would imagine you probably want to check out the first one. But it is a sequel, a follow-up to the original film. So, Aries, do you remember if you saw the original? I don't know if I asked you this.
I have not.
Okay. So
should I? Oh, you probably haven't seen the sequel, so you don't know
yeah,
what I
so
should see.
I don't know if it's a direct sequel or not. I'm guessing it is, but I'll try to find out. And then, if you have, I think Wormwood is only like, let's see. This one here is just under 90 minutes. I think the other one was probably about the same. 98 minutes. So not.
I mean, I'll try to watch both of them, but I can't make any promises.
No,
This weekend is very busy for me, so I know I'm not going to have a lot of time.
Yeah, and it might even be fine to actually it might be interesting to get a different perspective of someone who hadn't seen the original, see if it works, because sequels should stand on their own, right?
To a certain degree, yeah.
So, all right, there you go.
All right. Well, before we dive into anything too in depth here, I just want to, in the off chance that my guilt trip worked today, because I did go down and see my brother and spoke to him while he was working at the bar I previously worked at, and realized that they have streaming technology in this bar, and mentioned that they should stream this show in the bar while people are drinking. So, in the off chance that worked, I would like to say hello to everyone at Ralph's Diner that may be watching us right now.
Wow. We're sorry, Ralph's.
Oh, you know what? They're all fucking drunk.
That's
so
true.
This is me. Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hey, you.
Hey,
I remember you.
Ralph.
I used to serve
Hey.
you. There you go.
And then you cut them off.
Give me a burger. No lettuce.
Yeah, do they still make good food there, Aries?
I believe the burgers are still the same. They've increased the menu a great deal since I was there. It was burgers and chili. That was all they had when I worked there. I watched my brother make French fries for someone. Someone ordered a grilled cheese as I was walking out the door. I'm like, holy fuck, this is a real diner now, apparently.
Yeah, we got lobster over there. We got
lobster rolls.
We got a bisque. We got
a bisque.
What do you call it? What's it? Cordon bleu.
Cordon bleu. Corny asked if Rook was on that episode too, and he was not actually. I think we had Derek Rook on one around there. I think it was just timing wise, he wasn't able to come on.
Because I remember in the intro it was like we were down a ruffian, but we got some other stuff.
You remember that shit?
Well, yeah, I know what I said.
You know what? I'm gonna play it. I want to see if you're right.
We're down a ruffian, but we.
All right. Well, let's see.
The following program contains adult language and juvenile
Back in
conversations. Listener discretion is advised.
Tonight, we are down a monster, but we're gaining 2 ruffians. That's right, this is a hardcore crew that's going to leave you sore and covered in gore. So shriek it from the mountaintops, because these motherfuckers are not approved by the Comics Code Authority. Welcome to Trick or Treat Radio.
All right. Close.
Close.
Down a monster. And up 2 ruffians.
Okay, yes, maybe Rook was there.
But no, that's pretty good. You got a good memory. I don't know how, but you do.
It's very selective. It's very selective.
Well, that I know.
Selective meaning if he said it, he can remember it.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between like dementia, memento, and somewhere in between.
All right. Well, there you go. So maybe we're playing in Ralph's right now. That would be kind of cool. Or not. Maybe they're sick of our shit already. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they may have turned us off. I don't know. Maybe I should have gotten that out early on in the show. We'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Raven Chat, you had an eventful weekend, right?
I did. I had a good weekend, Johnny. I had a good weekend.
Oh God.
Are you going to tell people about it, or are you just going to boast? You just going to boast?
No. It was cool. Down in business. So at the shop, I worked Saturday. Sunday rather. And we had some guests. You heard Mina last week talking about. We had comics legends Simon Beasley and Glenn Fabry. Simon Beasley, you know him from Lobo, Heavy Metal, Grendel, Batman and Judge Dredd. Glenn Fabry from Preacher, Hellblazer covers. Vengeance of Bane, he drew. Comic in the Interiors in the sequel. Some Authority shit, a whole bunch of motherfucking shit. The Neverwhere adaptation. So we had them at the shop, and they were doing free autographs, and you can get a second one. You had to pay for it. So on break, I was able to get a quick autograph from Beasley, and I had him sign my Lobo Who's Who from the 90s. That was like, they stopped the comic format, and they would do a binder format. So they would have 8x10s of page that you could put in a binder. So he signed that Lobo. And then those of you who've been in my bedroom since 1997, or any room of mine, you've seen this Preacher poster I had down by the bar of all the Jesse, Tulip, and Cassidy sitting in a bar with a Dead Man's Hand card in front of them. He signed that. But I also saw the last print he got, because they were at the Wicked Con the Saturday before. And once again, when we had Liz Jordan on, was talking about going to that a few weeks ago. So they were there on Saturday, and they stopped by the shop on Sunday. So got to see some autographs, but I did see a print. The last print they had, it was Jesse Custer and John Constantine together. And I don't know if we could see this here. I don't know if you can see it.
Raven Chow's getting something. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this photo, but it's Jesse Custer arm in arm, holding a bottle of whiskey, smoking butts together. And we've never seen these two characters together, so that was super dope. So
that's like kind of like you and Aries.
It kind of is. So I'm meeting Glenn Fabry, and Glenn Fabry's an old gentleman. And then Mina's like, "Oh, do you want a picture?" I'm like, "No, I'm wearing my mask. I'm wearing my mask at the shop.
Yeah,
I'm sweaty. But no, do it." So Glenn Fabry came over, and he put his arm around me, and I'm like, "Oh, we should some props." So I pull out a butt, and I'm thinking he's gonna go for a butt, but he goes for a lighter. So there's a picture of us. I posted in the chat room.
I saw it. It's awesome.
Glenn Fabry is faking lighting my cigarette, and he was pissed because he's like, "My girlfriend left. She has my cigarettes." I'm like, "Oh, it would be an honor to give you a cigarette, sir." So Glenn Fabry bumped a butt from me, and we chatted. But then after the event, I went with Mina, former guest Liz Jordan, a few other folks, the guy that was their wrangler who did the CGC authenticating. We went to a restaurant, and I got to have beers with Glenn Fabry and his girlfriend, who also works in the business. And it was really, really cool, man. I remember I ordered a Guinness, 22-ounce Guinness. And then Glenn Fabry's like, "I'll have what he's having." So I had to drink a larger, Guinness with the man. And Glenn Fabry was part of that triumvirate of Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, rest in peace, that made Preacher and not only Hellblazer huge, important things in my life. I was 20 years old. I was reading Preacher when it came out, and then I was reading back issues of the Hellblazer run, which I told them probably started me to start smoking because of reading these two characters back to back. But we had dinner, it was really nice.
I thought
And then,
Aries was responsible for you smoking.
Yeah, he made it cool, but it probably was the work of Garth Ennis and those boys, John Constantine and Jesse Custer. But we'll go out and we told some great stories, man. Like he was telling me, I don't want to go in detail of the stories because I feel it was between, it was dudes having pints at a bar, but he told a story of meeting Terry Gilliam when he was 16 years old.
Mm.
And he was on set when he was doing Jabberwocky with John Cleese and all the Python guys because they knew of his artwork when he was 16.
Wow.
And I told the story, one of my brothers, Joey Tron, met Neil Gaiman on a cruise and gave some advice. It's going to be wild. And then Glenn talked about, I met Neil Gaiman 4 times. And each time it was a different Neil Gaiman I met. He went in detail about every incarnation was different. And then he told me the story about how Garth Ennis had to rep for him to become the Hellblazer artist because Karen Berger, the Vertigo editor, the great Karen Berger, wasn't quite sold because Glenn had a certain reputation. But Neil fought for him, and the work spoke for itself. And it was really just dudes at a bar, and he's a genuine human being, and he kept shaking my hand. And it's funny, like we talked everyone at the table mostly talked about British programming, about everyone's favorite Doctor Who, and I think he was legitimately upset that I've never seen the Red Dwarf. It's like, well, you've never seen the Red Dwarf, and I'm like, from America. But he was a super genuine guy. Handshakes, a lot of love, and like I said before in the intro, maybe some legend you shouldn't meet, but it's pretty fucking dope when you meet the legend that you do. So I thank Mina for allowing me to be at that table because it was really fucking dope, man.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I mean, like you said, you just never know, right? Like someone you look up to, it could just be a complete douchebag, because you wouldn't know because you just see their artwork or whatever in this case, But yeah, I mean, it's awesome that he was such a cool dude, and I mean, such a talented dude, So that's awesome.
So good. I mean, I probably haven't. The last autograph I probably bought was probably Malcolm McDowell was my first Rocket Shock appearance, which is before we even doing the show. This is fucking Malcolm McDowell. But like I said, it was really cool. I said, thank you for your work. And even when once again, I really appreciate everything you've done. You've inspired me. And then he kept shaking my hands like, hush, stop that.
He's like, no, literally, shut up.
Yeah. But we literally, at one point, we were outside, and the 110 Grill House is a very nice place. And so Earmuffs Johnny, the steak is fucking dope over there. But there was like a fire pit, and we were smoking, bringing our drinks out, and some bums showed up by the fire.
Bums.
Yeah. Like, we call them homeless people. But they showed up. But no, and it's funny. Actually, Glenn Fabry's girlfriend goes to me. He's like, "You look like someone," and I said, "Well, I guess we all do. Look like somebody." "No, you look like the bloke from Star Wars."
The bloke from Star Wars.
And I'm like, I'm not sure which one. No, there was
Adam Driver, she means.
Thank you. There was 4, 5, 6. The other ones, and I didn't even think Adam Driver. I'm like, I'm not Poe Dameron. He's like, no, the one with
you look
the shirt
like Finn
with this Star Wars. Yeah, he goes, oh, Kylo Ren. I said, oh, thank you, and a little bit of Richard Gere's on the eyes. I said, yeah, I guess both have almond-shaped eyes a little bit. So, but she was very sweet, really great.
You didn't get Keanu Reeves?
I said that, but she was like, no,
you're wrong.
I was like, some folks have said, John Wick. They're like, nope, not that one.
The bloke from Star Wars.
Bloke from Star Wars, Kylo Ren. And I said, they were very sweet, and it's sometimes it's pretty dope to meet your fucking legend.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's super cool. I mean, do they live in the area, or do they does he live in Britain still, in the UK?
Oh yeah, they're in the UK. Yeah. So they were going
wow.
back. They were going back to the UK, and then they're coming to Texas a few months from now. And they were scared. Actually, they were scared of like being in America because of guns. And I'm like, yeah, for the most part, we're okay up here.
For the most part, yeah.
New England's pretty safe. We read books, but they're going to Texas, and they were scared of that. But they want to come back. But once again, super great guy. He's rocking a Boston Red Sox shirt.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the picture you took.
I was like, oh, are you a fan? He's like, no, I just want to blend in. I said, okay, we're in the right place. But no, it was just really cool, and just talking raw, and hugging the dude. And it was really special. I was a little bit late. Those who checked out our Patreon show, so I apologize for that, but it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I thank Josh, Aries, and Lee for.
Well,
yeah, I'm sorry I didn't make it to the dinner, but I wasn't invited.
Aries is like, I didn't get that text message. You must have like had an error in sending.
You should work at the shop.
Couple of dudes hanging out and having a pint. I could have a fucking pint, mate.
Aries would have intimidated him.
He did, yeah. He called me mate. He was like, "Oh shit, the Saint of Killers! What the fuck?"
He looks like the guy from 30 Coins. The bloke looks like 30 Coins.
You've never seen the Red Dwarf? I'm like, I'm sorry. Although it was funny. I did mark out a little bit. I did. I'll share this with you. It was a little bit of a Chris Farley moment. So I grabbed my fuck communism lighter.
Nice.
And what we say, I'm like, hey, good Fabry, look what I have. And he was like, oh yeah. He went to go light it. Yeah, every convention some bloke has it. I'm like, oh. I thought it was special because I thought. Yeah. I remember, like, Ari, you tell me a story you trying to get me one years ago, and they wouldn't let you.
That wasn't my story.
Yeah, you and Parallax tried to do it for my birthday.
Maybe Parallax did. I didn't.
You said the story. It's all I know. Oh, fine.
Nope. Sorry. Wasn't me.
Well, he wouldn't have told me that story. I'll tell you that much. So I heard it from you.
I didn't tell you that story. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did. Play back the episode. You said you tried to.
When?
Well,
okay. Yeah,
Regardless.
I'm sorry. I tried. I failed.
Thank you for. It was really cool, and it was a nice evening. And the burgers were fucking dope.
I thought you had steak.
No, I wasn't sure because it was on the store. So.
So you got the cheapest thing on the menu.
I did because I wasn't sure if we really had to pay for it or not. So I'm like, oh shit, because they are very expensive over there. But I went for the $15 cheeseburger. But goddamn, that was good.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Now, which location did you go to?
The one by the hotel, the new, the one that
by the hotel. Could you be any more vague?
The one-time grill by the.
I understand that. There's like 50 locations of those right now.
It ain't fucking McDonald's, dude. There's the one where they made the change, all the new Worcester stuff.
Oh my god!
By the Rotary. What's the sound?
My fault for asking.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But you're wrong. You're confusing people.
I think he's confusing you.
You're confusing me.
You're confusing him.
Because it's a chain, so there's multiple locations. I merely asked which one.
The one in Worcester.
I'm not going to press you because you narrowed it down, so that's fine. Let's move on to the next topic.
So thank you, Glenn Fabry. Thank you. Yeah, it was dope. And Beasley was cool too. Very large man. Wore a lot of biker boots.
It makes sense for someone who's drawn Lobo.
Yeah, I was bass player. He was cool.
Is he essentially Lobo?
Kind of like Lobo. Yeah. He couldn't hang. That would have been cool. But it was funny though. Like as we're like drinking, like Glenn's like, I'm gonna get another one. Like, I think we're cashed out, Glenn. But we like, if we'd have to do the Patreon, and it could have got bad. It could have got
Maybe it's a good thing then.
It was really good. It was really good that we were mangled. But thank you, Glenn Fabry. You're dope.
I'm
You're
sure he's
genuine.
listening. Did you tell him about the podcast?
I just came close. I was gonna bring him.
You should have handed him one of those business cards or like what do we have? Those postage, the postcards or whatever they're called. Yeah, that's it.
I was
Or
gonna,
a
but
coaster.
The lighter didn't go over as well as I thought, so I was like, maybe I should just.
He's like, yeah. He's like, everywhere we go, everyone has a podcast. he like ruin you. You're feeling special.
See, this is where you failed, because if I was there, we would have done the Patreon from the bar, drunk as hell, me holding the phone.
With Glenn Fabry.
With Glenn.
That'd have been a great fucking podcast.
Talk about Casablanca.
That is why you fail.
That's not the only reason why I fail.
And this is why you fail.
Yeah, and that's why you fail. But no, he's so. And it's funny though, like, just like Glenn's the fucking dopest dude ever. I want to party with him again.
So maybe you have to go visit him in Britain.
We're going.
Do it. No, on location.
Yeah.
You have your passport?
Yeah, I do have. I didn't renew it, but I got.
Well, I don't have one yet, so got that ahead of me, anyways.
Yeah. I get the what do you call it? The all-purpose. What do you call it? What's the Omni ID? What's he call that?
The real ID.
The real ID, which is stupid. That's a stupid fucking name for it.
Instead of
Well,
the
you
fake
can't.
ID.
You can't leave the country with that, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave the country. I don't want to leave my house. I literally don't.
God damn it. Okay, let's move on.
All right, let's do it. All right, so we have a. What are you dropping, Aries?
My bottle cap.
We do
way
have
over there now.
We do have a voice message, and it is from Josh, who joined us on the Patreon episode. And Josh will also be joining us in 2 weeks on the podcast. You know what? I'll just fucking lay it out and let people know what we're doing in 2 weeks. I usually just go 1 week at a time, but since it just popped up on VOD today, in 2 weeks we're going to be doing the film X from Ty West. Ty West's latest film, X. So we'll be checking that out in 2 weeks on the 28th of April. And next week, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing Wormwood Apocalypse with Steve Van Sampson. And also got some other cool stuff in the works. You guys know the other one that's coming up soon. Raven Shadow, you reached out and made some plans about a guest for that episode. A film we've been anticipating for a while that we're going to get a chance to check out. So yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks. Should be fun as we head towards 10 years in July. Jesus. That's let's see. Episode 522. So right now we're on 507. So 15 more episodes to go. So 15 weeks until then. But yeah, we got some cool stuff in the works, some cool guests, some interesting films. But why don't we check in with Arkham Josh? And he said this was supposed to be for last week. He tried to send in a voice message, but for some reason he's been having trouble sending. I don't know if the attachments are too large or whatever, but he noticed that it hadn't sent and resent it to me today. So let's go ahead and hear from Josh.
Hey, Trick or Treat Radio guys, Arkham Josh here. Just doing a quick call in. My thoughts on this week's and last week's films. This week's movie, Night's End. Was unfamiliar with it. It was a pleasant surprise. Strong little story, good acting, a lot of really interesting things done on a obviously low budget. But yeah, I thought everything worked well with it. There was a little bit of hokey CGI, but there was also some decent practical effects. I like how they did the set design of him, kind of renovating the apartment and having the plastic everywhere, because that gives you some really cool silhouettes. And was able to do some good creepy things on, cheaply and effectively. So I'm going to say that Night's End is a treat and a recommend. Just if you're going into it, understand that it's definitely a lower budget film, so it doesn't have a whole lot of flashy stuff going on, but it's got enough story and enough interesting things to keep you interested. So treat and recommend. Last week's film, I actually sent a message in, but I think like a previous time, it got lost in the mix somehow. So Studio 666, had been looking forward to it, did not disappoint. A lot of fun, well written, well acted, lots of great practical effects.
Yeah.
It was actually leaned more into the gore and the horror than I expected it would. I thought it was going to be a bit more comedic. Not that it wasn't funny, I just thought it was going to, rely more on the comedy. So that is a definite 100% treat and recommend. I know its kind of rollout was hampered a little bit with the unfortunate news of Taylor Hawkins' passing, which is, definitely a sad situation. But I hope a lot of people check this out. It's Studio 666, definitely a treat and a recommend. So, all right, you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.
All right, Josh. Good to hear from you, man. And Josh is talking about the last 2 weeks' films, Night's End and Studio 666. And he dug both of them. So glad to hear that. And as I mentioned, Josh will be back on the show in 2 weeks. We haven't verified. I'm not sure if he's going to be in studio or via Skype, but we'll figure that out. We've got some time. But always awesome to hear from Josh. So, and go buy his records. If you're into vinyl, go buy stuff from Josh on Discogs.com.
Yeah, this Saturday I think he's doing. So the day this show drops on iTunes, I think Saturday, it's the 14th.
The show drops on Fridays, Raven Shadow.
Yeah, so the 15th. So
and
I
it's
think
not iTunes; it's Apple Podcasts.
You're fucking with me, John. I'm trying to.
No, I'm not. I'm correcting you. I'm not fucking with you.
On whenever the show drops, but it drops on the 15th. Is that fair to say? On whatever the platforms are.
Yes.
Thank you. But I think Josh is having an event on Saturday the 16th for his records.
You think or you know?
I saw a Facebook thing.
Okay, where?
On Facebook.
Where is he having a thing? You cannot have to promote a thing if you don't say where it is.
I thought you were the Prince of Promotions or whatever the fuck.
I'm the fucking POA. Fucking friend Josh. You'll figure it out. Like,
friend Josh.
You're the POS.
Okay, let me read this. This Saturday, April 16th, I'll be set up at the Fashion District event put on by Original Markets in Boston. Here's a preview of some of the new arrivals in the record bins, as well as some of the shirts I'll have available. So there you go. In the Boston Masonic Building. So, and it looks like he's got a Van Halen 1 vinyl. The Clash, Cut the Crap. I see U2 War, Def Leppard. And some others I can't really make out because they're underneath. But and for T-shirts, he's got Love and Rockets and Pixies T-shirt and a Pink Floyd shirt. So look at that. Got some good shit, man.
See?
Great plug, Raven Channel.
Yeah. No, I'm just fucking throwing it out there, but you know what I mean? I'm trying to help.
Trying. Hey, at least you're trying.
Fucking trying, man. One thing actually funny enough, just taking it back to the Glenn Fabry, Simon Beasley thing. Mina and I did go out and we got coffee. We were like fiddling baristas. We got them their coffee for the creators. which reminded me of when Johnny and we delivered pizza to the ECW superstars many years ago.
I'm sorry. Did you go and pick up coffee and then refer to yourself as a barista?
We were baristas because it was the gas station, and we had to actually fill it. We had cups, and we had to fill it out with their order and stuff. Yeah. So
Okay. Not that I'm 100% on board with that someone slinging coffee needs a special name, but you just dumped coffee in a cup.
No, it's different now. It's different now. You got to push a button for sugar to come out. You got to fucking push a button for the fucking coffee, and some people.
So any artistic value is taking out of what you were doing.
No, it's very technical now.
Yeah. So there was no artistic value to what you were doing.
Well, I mean, I arranged the cups and the coffee and the covers of the cups in a pattern.
So there was no baristering at all. It was all computer.
No, there was
a button.
All right, true.
There was no artistic value to that.
No. In terms of the extraction of the ingredients, fine. Maybe it was
the
fucking
extraction of the ingredients.
But still, the placement and the order, it was a very small space areas. You understand? It was very small space. You understand? And so we had.
Yeah, I realize you're used to the small, but.
Thank you. But no, we had the layout and the cups and the stirrers and the napkins. It was all very tactical.
Tactical?
It
was very tactical.
It was very tactical. It was very tactical. Yeah. Tactile telekinesis.
Oh, man.
So you were Grubhub.
Johnny,
you were Grubhub.
No, I was not Grubhub. I was a barista. I was Dave Barista.
Dave Barista.
You were fucking Grubhub.
Aries is making fun of me.
I'm making fun of you trying to make yourself be more important than what you did.
But the funny thing is, though, like, he is saying he's a title that, like, generally is looked down upon, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying like if that's someone's career, that's totally fine, you know. But
I mean, I don't have any problem with someone that makes a living making and serving coffee. I don't like when someone goes, "I'm a barista." I don't like. Not every job needs a fancy title.
Right. Like I mean, like, you know, if I fucking trim the hedges, I'm not a fucking ranger. That's fine. All right.
Well,
kids on my lawn.
Ravenchild needs to inflate his self-importance.
Apparently.
Now more than ever, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You need to give yourself not even. You're trying to give yourself a bullshit title that doesn't even fit what you did.
Here's my title. I'm alive. Still here. Still
Barely.
Here.
Barely.
Yeah.
I'm barely breathing. Ravenchild.
And to any barista that's listening, I'm kind of sorry if I offended you.
Only kinda.
Kinda. Just don't spit in my coffee.
Yeah. No, spit in his coffee.
You know what? Who am I fooling? I don't go anywhere where someone else makes my coffee for me. So.
Yeah. So you're your own barista.
I go to Cumbies and pay $1 and make it myself.
That's what we did. We were doing that, and then we had to.
And you hit a button. I understand how Cumbies works. There's no baristering at Cumbies.
Well, hold on, Ravenchild. You went and got coffee for Fabry and Bisley.
Yeah, and the entourage.
Why would you go to Cumberland Farms to get their coffee when there's literally a Dunkin' Donuts like on every fucking corner?
Because we had to walk. That's above my shop pay grade, brother.
Wait. Did you say walk? Where's your Cumbies within walking distance of your shop?
It was the gas station across from Blue Jeans Pizza.
Oh,
that's a Cumbies now?
No, I think I just said Cumbies.
So no. You know where the shop is. You walk up. There's Blue Jeans Pizza, and there's the mobile Exxon. Yeah.
And there's a Dippin' Donuts like right there too. You could have gone there.
That's too fucking far. We had to come back. You understand? We walked.
I understand you walked. The Dippin' Donuts is right there. You had to cross one less street to get to Dippin'.
Well, that'd have been driving donuts. We didn't have that capability. We were walking. We're walking.
Like we're walking over here.
I'm walking here.
I'm just saying, I was tying it back to stories where we got coffee for some legends, and then years ago, Johnny and I got pizza for legends, and we drove that to them.
That's true.
Did you get Danish for the legends?
Danish for legends?
Yeah. Did you buy any Danish? Oh no, I'm sorry. They were British. Did you get them any scones?
Scones? No, but I got 2 free Guinnesses and a free fucking burger.
$15 burger.
Yeah.
Was it amazing?
It was fucking. You would come back, Johnny.
No, I would not.
No, earmuffs, but no, I'm sorry, but
110 grill. That's very fine food. That's farm to table.
You don't have to be sorry, Raven Shadow. Okay.
I'm not sorry, but
well, you said it.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what the right.
You don't need to address it at all.
Be yourself. Yeah, you don't have to address it. I made a decision. That's it. I'm not going to judge you.
What can we eat together?
I'll judge you in other ways, but
it almost seems like you're judging him.
Yeah.
For his choices.
We can eat so much, Raven Shadow. Remember the time we went to Moe's and you fucking loved it?
I did love that.
I know. You got a quesadilla, right?
I love eating with Johnny.
Why do you love eating with me? I just don't get this.
It calms me down too. I don't know.
Eating with me calms you down. Okay.
I don't know. I like you know how to order things, and I can tell you. I'm like, tell them what.
Knows how to order things.
Because it's confusing now. There's a lot of so many fucking words and fucking.
What is confusing?
A lot of it, and I'm just like, Wolfie, this is what I need. Tell them to make that. We'll pay for it.
I can't. Wow, we could just. There's so much to go on here. This is a Patreon episode. We need to do a Patreon where we watch Raven Shadow order food at a restaurant.
No, I can do it. I know how to order. Some places that are fucking weird.
No, that's what I mean. We need to go someplace that is outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And watch you order food.
Yeah, Moe's confuses the fuck out of me.
Yeah, so we need to go to Moe's.
I had to place his food order for him.
Moe's, probably Chipotle. That probably will blow your mind.
Yeah, I get divorced because of that. I don't even
fucking Evil Corny says, if Raven Shadow's a barista, I'm a private chef for cooking dinner for myself today. He is. Might as well, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, man, private chef. What are you gonna do? All right, well, let's see. I think that's it. We had the one voice message. One thing I wanted to talk about is this week I only watched one episode, but I started the show Our Flag Means Death. Have you guys heard of this one?
Oh, I watched the pilot. First episode.
Yeah, okay. So we've seen the first episode. What did you think?
It's fun. That's the
Taika Waititi.
Pirate show.
Yeah. Taika Waititi doing a pirate show with Rhys Darby as the fucking star, and I can't even look at that guy and not laugh. He is I just think he's that funny. Some of his comedy specials are hilarious, and he was also in Flight of the Conchords as their manager. Oh shit, what was his name? Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. In that, I'll look it up real quick. But I don't know. I just look at him and I just fucking laugh just seeing him. But yeah, he plays one of the main characters. And let's see, in Flight of the Conchords, he was Murray Hewitt. That's it. But he is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, Mary and I watched that a few weeks ago on a Sunday. I'm gonna jump back on it because Rock was repping it pretty hard.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to see it anyways, and then Rock was like, "Yeah, you got to check it out." So I tried to make it a priority to check that one out, and I watched the first episode. I'm definitely going to continue. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, dope.
I haven't watched it yet, but that is what replaced Casablanca under my recommendations.
Really?
Yeah. Everything else stayed the same, except for Casablanca disappeared, and Our Flag Means Death reappeared.
That's
or
not,
appeared.
Or
Like,
not
that's weird. I thought it was gonna be another classic, and I'd be like, I'll check out that, but no, okay.
Actually, I was getting it also this calmed me down, like thinking about Aries watching classic movies on Sundays. I was thinking about that Monday when I was going to work. I was watching.
Wait, thinking about me watching classic movies calmed you down?
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things that calm you down.
I know it's fucking. I can't. I have no. I don't know. It does though.
So a couple characters that are in Our Flag Means Death. Joel Fry plays the character Frenchie. He was in that movie In the Earth. Do you remember that? Where he goes into the woods and then he gets captured by that fucking crazy guy and has his toe cut off, and then there's those weird sounds in the forest.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, he's the dude that plays the ukulele, I think, or he's the one that sings in Our Flag Means Death. He's the one that plays the musical instrument and sings.
Shit.
Also, Christian Nairn, he plays Wee John Feeney, and he was Hodor in Game of Thrones.
Oh shit!
The big dude in.
That was Night's Watch. Who was boys with Jon Snow, right? And ended up.
Yeah, Hodor.
Yeah.
It's also got Ewan Bremner.
Ewan Bremner?
No, Ewan Bremner, who you may remember from such movies as Train Spotting. He played Spud.
Shit.
Yeah, he's in this as well. So it's got a really really good cast, and I'm only one episode in. I do know that Taika acts in it as well. I won't say who he is in case people haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it's super good. It's on HBO Max. I would recommend it just based on the one episode that I saw.
HBO Max is killing it.
Yeah, you digging it?
Yeah. Like, yo, get like Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO Max.
Yo, that's what you got to get.
All right, what the fuck? I mean, all right.
Well, what's coming to HBO Max soon?
The Batman.
Oh, come on! I was testing him, Johnny. Yeah, I knew you knew.
Sorry.
Fucking the Batman's gonna get a day earlier. Like, holy crap, it's coming out on Monday instead of Tuesday. What the fuck? Put it out on a Friday, so I'm gonna watch. But yeah,
well, you can wait until Friday to watch it. Just because it comes out on Monday doesn't mean you have to watch it on Monday.
Gotta watch fucking some other shit. But yeah, April 18th, the Batman's coming out. They're doing the Green Lantern Corps movie, show, whatever the fuck. That's coming out. Then Warner Brothers is revamping all their film projects that came out soon.
Well, supposedly, I mean, Discovery now owns Warner Brothers, Discovery Warner or something like that, and so I mean, the rumor is that they want to do have like a Kevin Feige type who's in charge of all the films and live action stuff, I guess.
I got my application in for that job, just an FYI. If
Oh,
I
yeah?
could get a letter of recommendation from everyone listening.
Okay.
But who's Discovery though? I thought it was AT&T.
It was. They sold it.
AT&T sold it?
Yeah.
Who's Discovery?
Discovery Network? You ever hear it?
The Discovery Channel?
Yeah.
They have that much more money than Warner Brothers?
Apparently.
I get
No,
this for you.
they
Warner
bought
Brothers isn't really. It's not really worth a lot.
Warner Brothers is not worth a lot? Like what? How
Yeah.
many? Discovery Channel, how many fucking sharks and fucking manatee shows can you fucking have?
Manatee.
I never knew.
Well, Discovery, they own a lot of channels, and Warner Brothers has been pumping out fucking Birds of Prey and
But yeah, I mean, if they discovered
other shit.
if they
What?
discover like, minerals and like shit, like what do they really discover? I don't know.
Have you watched Discovery Channel?
I think it's everyone. What?
No, so then shut your trap.
What am I gonna watch? Why am I gonna do that for? What am I gonna
Well,
watch?
if you don't know, why are you piping in?
I'll watch The Secret Life of Coral Reefs. That's fucking great. What am I gonna do that for?
Well,
what am I?
You obviously don't understand how much money they have.
They really?
Yes, because they bought Warner Brothers.
It's like when the fucking panda fucking beat Vince, taking the fucking WWF out. Like the World Wildlife Federation has more money than Mr. Fan. That's stupid. Get the F out.
Well, it's not that they had more money; they had more justification to the letters. In that case,
for a website.
Yeah, I think I don't think it was money. I think he's right. I think they were around before, if I'm not mistaken, and they could prove that. So,
and it was only because Vince had more money did that lawsuit drag on as long as it did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck, Superman and Batman.
So I'm just skimming this here, but in 2017, Discovery announced it would acquire the Scripps Network Interactive, which was owner of networks such as Food Network, HGTV, for $14.6 billion. So apparently they had a lot of money to acquire those. And let's see here. Trying to see if there's any other big... I mean, they just own a lot of television networks, so my guess is they just have a lot of money. Because I was honestly surprised about that too when I saw it, but
and just because what you hold true and hold dear isn't necessarily what the masses hold dear. So, although DC is very beloved to you, it isn't worth that much money to the masses.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, that is just farming the properties. I understand that. I mean, what I hold dear is remarkably small. But right, they can pillage, and it's ideas. It's
well, here's sorry to interrupt, but it's actually a merger. They're not buying it. So I was mistaken. It says on May 17th, 2021, AT&T announced that it had reached an agreement to merge its content and broadcasting subsidiary, which is the Warner Brothers holdings of Warner Media, with Discovery Inc. To form a new company subject to regulatory approval. The merger is scheduled to be completed in mid-2022, which must be what's happening now. Will be structured, I don't know, like this is all sort of technical jargon. But it says AT&T shareholders will hold a 71% interest in the new company's stock and will appoint 7 board members. And Discovery shareholders will hold 29% and appoint 6 board members. AT&T will receive $43 billion in cash and debt from the spinoff. So it is a merger. They're merging with Discovery. So there you have it. They didn't buy them. It's a merger. And AT&T is still going to have the most control over it. So
first
so
agreement,
almost a buying.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's basically a new company. They're kind of creating a different sort of branch of it. So,
right. Essentially, all it does is that it will keep the books around to produce different properties to produce. Intellectual properties, and they can farm that to how they.
Yeah.
Well, I think this merger was more about the movies and TV shows more than books.
Right, but I mean, like the books are enough just to keep the life pumping a little bit. I mean, comic sales are remarkably down. They are.
I'm not surprised.
They can keep at least that medium going to produce the shows, the TVs, the cartoons, and the merchandise.
Honestly, like I think what's going to save comics, not that they necessarily need saving. It's not like a point where they need to be saved, but I think what will help is getting. I know they have digital apps, and all the companies do now, but the thing is, they are still ruled by the brick and mortar stores, which understandably so. But if they ever get some sort of deal where they can release day and day with the stores on digital and have a subscription service, I imagine it'll be more lucrative and more people would do it. But I also get the brick and mortar aspect of it, because without that, if people don't need to go to the comic book store to get their new comics to keep up with things, then they are definitely going to lose sales for sure.
And that could be a thing if the average comic reader is in their 30s or older. Once that generation dies off,
right?
The manga is huge though. It's funny. Manga is the young kids love the manga, and the physical media. But who knows where it goes? But I would just say I don't care what the delivery method is, as long as the content is there.
Yeah, and ultimately, as we know, content is king, and you want. I mean, the thing is, if this keeps going the way it's going, we may have less and less comic book creators, because there's just going to be less and less books because people aren't buying them. If they want to save the comic industry, I think they need to figure something out, similar to like a streaming platform. Like, not saying, I mean, to read a comic, like, it's going to be the same whether you're reading a floppy or whether you're reading it digitally. Motion comics tried and failed, and that's not the way to go. But I think if you can just pull it up on a tablet, or I don't know, people would be crazy for reading comics on a phone, but on a tablet or something like that, and you can read as soon as they're released, and you pay $10 a month, and you can read all the books you want. That's fucking awesome. I mean, that's going to be a big blow. It's essentially going to do for bands what Spotify and all these other streaming services did for their money. They're going to have to make money in other ways, like touring. The bands tour and sell merch, and that's how they make most of their money nowadays. But I mean, something's going to have to give. Same thing with all these other digital mediums. Something's got to give eventually. So I don't know what that is, and I don't want to see comics go away. But if they go the subscription model way, I mean, right now sales are dwindling, as you said, Raven Shadow. But if they go the digital format, maybe more people will sign up for a subscription, and then maybe in the long run, if they can get enough people, maybe they end up making more money.
And as long as Marvel's the house of ideas, right? As long as they use that as the jumping off point to the movies and the shows, and once again, like, these characters will outlive all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, and whatever the format is, like, if we're the old timers, who knows who's coming up? But as long as they can at least have that as like the gestation, like the ideas, and then Hollywood can cherry pick whatever they want to feed the beast, to feed the machine.
Well, I think part of the problem is they need to feed off of the movies. The movies cannot feed off the comics anymore. Yeah, because people don't care. People need to watch the movies and then want to go to the comic books to explore the story more, not to get the origins of the story. People aren't interested in that. They need to hint at what's happening in the comic, so if someone wants to read the comic.
But you know what's funny too, though? Working Saturdays, like, I've witnessed a huge boom in like back issues. Now, I don't know if it's a resurgence of the speculator market for all characters that are being optioned. Like Nova books are spiking now because there's been talk of a Nova ongoing, not a Disney Plus show. Moon Knight. Like if you're gonna sell Moon, now's the time to do it.
What about Quasar?
Probably, dude. Like, literally, like, I have so many books that I adore that are now like my West Coast Avengers run. I could probably sell off. I have all the fucking Moon Knight shit. I have all those shitty Guardians of the Galaxy comics that I love so much that are worth money.
But the the problem is back issues doesn't help the industry. It helps the store.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Correct.
reselling those back issues, obviously the creators aren't seeing a dime off of that.
Right. It's a different, exactly, and that's a fair point. It's a different market, but at least the interest, I guess, is there.
Yeah.
But once they create, they're creating the show or the movie, so then people are wanting to find out where those stories came from, rather than wanting to dive into more of that story. That is the problem. The comic needs to tell more of a backstory, or a little side rails to characters in these stories, where it is, rather than a straight line, it's more of a tree with these stories where you need to venture off. And that is what would keep the industry alive, where you could watch the movie, or you could watch the movie and then read all these other little sub stories that go along with this.
And the aging fanboy in me just wants that synergy. You can enjoy it all. I don't want to turn somebody. People say, what should I buy to make money? I don't fucking stocks. I mean, I don't know, Google.
Right. You don't. Yeah, you're not going to invest in comic books. I mean,
that.
Getting a Action Comics is, I mean, that's the fucking holy grail, right? Like something like that. Like the fact, if you're buying something that's going to retain its value, you, as Harry said, or better off playing the stocks.
Right. Like, I do enjoy that. Like books who I've loved that were mediocre are now, hot books, so to speak.
Right. Or cryptocurrency or something.
Yeah. But also, I don't want to try to figure out where I am in the character's story arc when I pick up a book. Like, is this movie continuity? Is this comic continuity? Is this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, or is this Amazing Spider-Man? Like, I don't want to have to piece together where I am in this character's arc based on comics or movies or whatever else. There just needs to be one flowing storyline that I can follow, where it's just like, okay, does the world know he's Peter Parker or not? Is Superman married to Lois or not? Like, there's just too much all over the place with all these characters, where they just need to centralize it and focus and come up with one story where, yes, you know what, you could watch the movie and that's it, or yes, you could watch the comic and read the comic and that's it, or you could do both and they both make sense together.
Yeah, but it's been in the game for a long time. I mean, I get what you're saying a little bit, but like we had 4 separate Superman titles when we were coming up, and you could read them all with a triangle. You could read them all or read them own separately, and same with the Spidey books. You didn't have to read all of them, but you got the full story.
But with the Superman, you could. It wasn't necessary to read all of them, but yes, it did help. But when you flipped over to Batman, if you didn't, Batman, there was stories that were independent of themselves, and they kind of veered off on themselves. Right. The Shadow of the Bat books were independent than Detective Comics.
Nice pull on Shadow of the Bat, by the way.
Thank you. But it was very annoying because what happened in that book didn't affect what happened in the other books.
They're different days, though. But then his place is funny though. Like, I would always wonder, like, why can't the Spidey just call his boys over FF? Well, they're doing different shit. As we get older, I'm like, oh shit, I could really use Ares right now, but he's doing his own different shit. So I guess I'm Sabretooth by myself. So, like, you know what I mean? Even though they exist in the same universe, everyone's got their own fucking problems.
Well, yeah, but you know what? If you just read Spider-Man and you were like, I wonder what's happening in the Fantastic Four, you know what? And if you picked up a Fantastic Four book that happened at the same time, they're having their own story, their own adventure. That's why they weren't there.
Right. What's called life.
Like, I mean, it was continuity in that world. I mean, it was just like if you watched Captain America Winter Soldier, if you thought about, like, why didn't anyone help? it was, if you thought about it, every character that existed at that time made sense as to why they didn't help.
Because they were doing their own shit. They
Yes.
Like I could have used fucking your help fucking lifting up a fucking desk the other day, but I didn't call you because I know you're doing your own shit. You know
But
what
I mean, yeah, that ties in the whole continuity of the worlds.
Right. I think Aries and I are in the same continuity, but we have our own shit going on.
Right. Like if in your book, I suddenly appeared to pick up your desk, but in my book, I'm, 10,000 miles away doing my own thing. Like it doesn't make sense. So continuity. That's what I'm trying to say.
I like when you pick up my desk.
Jesus.
And you made it creepy.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on talking about this. It is, I imagine, for someone who, let's say, someone's super into like the Marvel shows, or I don't know, let's just say someone just saw the Batman, the Pattinson movie, and they're like, oh my god, like this is such a cool thing. Like, I want to read the comics now. Like, where do I begin? Like, how do you answer that for somebody? Like, there is literally what 80. Is it like 80 years now of Batman? Close to 80?
Superman was 1938. Batman was 1939.
So I can't do math right now.
No.
82. Yeah. Okay. So he's 82. Well, actually, will be 83 this year. So yeah. So 80 something years. How do you pick a story for like that person? Like, I mean, unless the Batman was based off of a comic, like I just don't know. And maybe you do Dark Knight Returns. I don't know.
So that's the thing where, like, unlike say your Preacher, your James Robinson Starman, or certain books where yes, you want to jump from the beginning. Like when I started reading comics, I was born in '76. I probably started truly reading 83, 84. You don't have to go back to 1938 Batman. You don't need to know the full story. Right. It's great. Like, you don't have to know like that in the 80s that Peter Parker had a book called Webs that Webs, where he publishes photos of him being Spider-Man and went on a book tour. And over the course of several issues, he went to like Ohio and visited El Goro and fought. And he went on tour and had different adventures in different states. You don't have to know that Batman had a hunchback assistant named Harold that made his weapons from 1990 whatever the fuck to 2000 whatever the fuck. You see the important stuff. It's not a continuing run, but you got to have the errors. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing with it is a continuing run, though.
But it's not. It's not, though. Superman in 1938 is not Kal-El from John Byrne's 85 remake. You got to.
Well, that's the thing, though. There is stops. DC wrote in stops.
But they don't age in real time, though. They don't age. You got to have it in error.
Oh, correct. But all their holy crap, the crisis. Those are stop points.
Right. Yes, stop points in terms of when you can pick on errors and stuff. But like, you could have the magic trick about comic books. You could have 12 issues that take place in the span of 5 minutes if the writing is right.
Correct.
You understand? Or you could have 12 issues take the place over 12 years. So characters can't age in real time. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yes, but these characters don't age at all, so that's why they write in stops.
A little bit. I mean, technically, Superman and Batman are not supposed to truly be over 35 in their regular books.
Yeah, but they're running out of room for Robins to fit into that timeline.
Well, keep fucking producing them, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're gonna have Robins that. You know what? Mathematically, they're going to be like 2 Robins at a time soon. Like,
I mean,
running out of room.
What sucks? The biggest character is the Punisher, which truly, I mean, he is getting beyond the Vietnam range. And you could substitute Desert Storm, but it's not the same as Vietnam.
Well, but then you could just reinvent the character. I mean, they had to run into the same thing with Tony Stark. They had to reinvent the backstory.
Which, once again, he was in Vietnam.
Yes. I mean, eventually these characters age out of their backstories too.
Right.
I mean, guess what? Magneto eventually isn't going to be able to be a Holocaust survivor.
But that would fundamentally change the character, and they can do magic comic shit to make him de-age.
They have to do something because mathematically he's going to age out of it, and that is part of the problem with these characters because they're invented at a certain time with a certain backstory.
Yeah.
Right, but like Magneto needs to be from the Holocaust.
Well, I mean, Ari makes a good point. In 50 years, or I mean, I don't know, even 20 or 30 years, like he would be a fucking decrepit old man, unless.
But we with Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, where they had their magic formula.
Well, sure. You can't do that for everyone, though. You know.
Nick Fury had Rogers had the super soldier serum. Classic Nick Fury had the Infinity formula to keep them going.
Yeah.
I mean, but eventually that gets tired to have the to be able to hold on to that backstory. They need to come up with a serum or a magical spell or whatever else. They need to reinvent the characters every so often. I actually had an idea, and if I had an inkling of talent, and please, anyone that wants to just steal this idea because I'm never going to do anything with it, come up with your own characters, come up with a story, kill them off as the story progresses, and once everyone's dead, revamp it and start over again. Like, don't have the characters never die. Kill off the characters, have a run be 6 issues, have the next run be 30 issues. Keep on killing off your characters and start them over again.
But that's good too. But also something about the myth. Yes. And that's where you get your creator own stuff. And maybe this is a whole different show. Maybe we're probably going long, but like it's different between mythology.
Yeah.
These characters.
And that's the thing. I mean, if our like immediate history is for as long as we've been alive, and maybe like the generation before, like our parents or our grandparents, like that's our immediate sphere of history in terms of, you know, what we can easily access by word of mouth, you know. So, but when we start getting into, let's say, like, I don't know, like the most popular or the most told story is King Arthur. Like, you know, like that story has been told so many times, like to the point where they're like, no one probably knows what the true origin is anymore, you know? So you could go back like that far and really, you know, kind of look at it and say, well, where do I start? Like, oh, well, this person had their own version of it. This person had their version. This person had their version. There's literally hundreds, if not thousands of different versions, you know? And then even look at like recent history with films. Like there's a lot of King Arthur films, a lot of King Arthur shows, you know? It's just one of those things that's told over and over and over. And who owns it? We don't know. Like, who the fuck, you know, like, did King Arthur actually live? Sure. I mean, he's maybe based on historical figures, but maybe not. You know, it's one of those things we just don't know. So we don't actually know the origin, you know?
And if we look at the cast of Avengers Prime, the first Avengers movie, and let's look at Justice League, right, wrong, or indifferent, Avengers Prime, all those characters predated us, and we are in our 40s.
Are you talking about the movie?
I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying the movies.
He's talking about like the origin of the characters in comics, right?
Just the characters themselves. Yeah.
Most popular characters right now. Like, hell, even fucking, we're older than fucking Rocket Raccoon. Because I'm pretty sure he was a 1971, maybe 74 episode of Hulk. At least Johnny and I are younger than Rocket Raccoon. But at the same time, like...
But now I guess I was the one that brought it up. When you get into the movies, when you have physical, real people playing these characters, they age out of them, unlike the comic books. So now you need to come up with what happens. Like, you know what? Iron Man's dead. Captain America went back in time and aged out. So now what are you going to do for Iron Man and Captain America? Like, now you have Sam Wilson, who is eventually going to age out. You're going to have someone come up with a new Iron Man. They're going to age out. So in the real world, these people age out. The comic books, they never age out. So that is a flaw with the comics, because now Captain America, Steve Rogers, doesn't exist in the movies, and that is where the money is made by Marvel.
Right.
But keep in mind though, the characters never age out; the actors do.
Correct.
And
but I
am fully along the line of, if you want to keep this continuity going, you recast. And quite frankly,
they can't, because they've killed off Tony Stark, they've aged out Steve Rogers, they've killed off Natasha Romanoff. They can't recast those characters.
If you've read comics and you've read when Rogers aged, you can always, once again, take it back to Sean Connery. Never say never again.
Well,
and money's right, you could de-age Steve Rogers.
But here's the thing. Here's the difference between the movies and the comics. The movies hold true when they kill someone, they're dead.
Maybe. Or you can recast.
Don't say maybe. Who's come back to life?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many Bruce Banners have we had in the last couple of years.
How many have died?
How many
have died and come back?
We've had War Machines. We've had 2 War Machines. We've had 3 fucking Hulks.
How many have died and come back?
The script hasn't been there yet.
Yes, no one has died and come back. That's what I'm saying.
But if you want to keep it going,
because that's not what they're doing in the movies.
So Jean Grey died in Dark Phoenix Saga. She never came back, did she?
Well, I think the thing about, there's a difference inherently. There's a difference between comics and movies.
Blue Beetle's back nowadays,
what movie?
No, but in comics, so Ted Kord's back. That's
what I'm saying. Comics are different than movies. They come back in the comics. They don't come back in the movies.
Let me just say, like, there is way more money in movies than there is in comics right now. Like, look how much Avengers Endgame made, right? Like $1 billion, over $1 billion. So you need to have stakes, and I don't mean the steak you had at fucking 110 fucking Chop House or whatever the fuck you went. You need to have stakes where people care about these characters and people are like hanging on the edge, and because of that, you need to have there need to be ramifications of these big events, and some people need to die. But in comics, you need to have a gimmick to sell books, and that is the return of X or the return of so and so, because as we know, that's happened endless amounts of times over the years. No one is truly dead in comics.
The only person that's still dead is Uncle Ben.
Right, but didn't he come back in some fucking comics, or
maybe it been a ghost or whatnot? But the rule was always like Bucky and fucking Uncle Ben. Well, Bucky came fucking back. Now, Bucky never truly died in a comic. Bucky died in a retcon.
Right.
Told Bucky died. And bringing Bucky back was actually a huge thing, which was the same time they brought Jason Todd back. And I remember calling to fucking say, I got my parents' fucking permission to fucking call the hotline. I'm like, save Jason. And I remember fucking...
You were the only one.
Fucking close. We're at the fucking Auburn Mall, and I went to Walden Books, but I almost paying a bill at Cherry and Webb, and there was the Mike Mignola cover of fucking Jason Todd fucking bloody as fuck. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, Jason Todd.
I tried to save him.
It costs us $1.25 to do that.
Yeah. Well, I do think this is an interesting conversation that we can have. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Raven Shadow, about the death thing? I don't know if you finished your point.
Oh man, it doesn't matter. It all just keeps going. Just keep the party going.
I mean, well, the biggest thing with the whole, people staying dead in comics, there's a new comic once every month.
Right.
So they eventually run out of storylines. There's a new movie once every 2 to 3 years.
Right. And what
so they don't need to bring the characters back.
And they do have to. I mean, if there's a new creative team, like don't want to be hamstrung with, with what the previous creator had done. So they want to have their own shot at it, and they need a clean slate, kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch. Just shake that slate clean and let's start over, or start from a different point.
But how many times have like Wonder Man died or the characters? Like,
I think you're the only person that knows that.
A lot. But like, if I'm writing Green Lantern, I'm putting Kyle back in his original costume, and that's what the secular cycle of comics are. You bring back what you love.
Right.
And I think you're arguing something different than what we're talking about.
No, I think I'm almost getting upset, but I'm not.
Don't get upset, Joe. You'll have to listen to some El Goro to calm you down.
I am. I'm going to put. I'll have to put Airheads on after this.
So I just want to catch up real quick. Corny had a few comments. Let's see. He said they'll still make trade paperbacks. This is like 20 minutes ago. He said this when we were talking about brick and mortar stores, and he's right about that. But I don't know if that's enough to keep brick and mortar going. If you can get them digitally for a subscription. Like, is that enough benefit to buy a trade to put on your shelf when you already own it digitally or can access it digitally? I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I know a lot of our friends like physical media. Like, for instance, people would love to have some of the TV shows or streaming movies on Blu-ray, but since they're streaming, there's no reason to make a Blu-ray, right? So, I can see both sides of that. And then Corny also said, when we kind of posed the question of what you would recommend for people who enjoyed the Batman, the film that's currently in theaters and will be on HBO Max soon, he says, I would suggest The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. Tim Sale, right? Did both those?
Yeah, there's certain the high spots of Batman, right? So if you like Batman, it's Dark Knight, it's Year One, it's Long Halloween.
Yeah.
Maybe for some folks coming up, it's Hush, depending on your stake. And there's certain things that you would Killing Joke for some.
Yep. The Arkham book.
Asylum.
Yeah.
Arkham Asylum, which does have a really dope new reprinting. I saw the cover the other day, which is really sweet.
Was that Dave McKean, or did he just?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And Grant Morrison, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then like in Lantern, people well, recommend Emerald Dawn 2.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Jeff Johns' Origins. There's certain books you can go to for that.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk more about that. I have a feeling, and just kind of tossing this out as a teaser, that we're going to be talking about the Batman on a future show, so we can approach that then. But we should wrap up. It is getting late. We went on a bit of a tangent, but I think that was a kind of an important one, and one that we'll probably have again. So. Let me just double check all the chats, make sure I didn't miss anything, or just double check the voice messages and just make sure we're going to get any in the last 20 minutes or so. Nope. Okay. So no voice messages, no messages that I haven't read. So I think we are good to end. So, all right, let's say our goodbyes, starting with Aries.
All right. It's always a pleasure to have El Goro on. I look forward to seeing him again in person and intimidating the fuck out of people by standing near a doorway with him.
That was the
to
best.
Everyone else, goodbye.
I have to say that was fucking awesome. You guys look like bouncers. Just all you do is stand next to each other near a door, and people are just going to be fucking scared.
We were just talking comics or movies or just whatever geeky thing we were talking about, and no one wanted to pass by us, just trying to hand us money and IDs.
That's funny. All right, Raven Shadow.
Aries, I love you. Thank you.
Is that it?
Goro, once again, Killer Man, and John, thank you so much, brother. I hope that we can eventually share some microphones in a chat. Maybe we'll Goro in the future. But until next time, live fast, love hard, survive with your mask on.
And make mine HBO Max.
Make my a lot of content. Doom Patrol.
All right, so yeah, that is going to do it. It was awesome to have El Goro join us as always. Love talking to that dude. Love hanging out with him. And as Ari said, it would be fun to hang out in person again one of these days. John R., thank you, man, for all your support. I hope we did you proud at least a little bit. But I appreciate you recommending this show to us, because otherwise we probably wouldn't have checked it out. So appreciate that, and people should go check out 30 Coins. It's pretty interesting, and definitely is very, very much in the wheelhouse of horror fans. So I would recommend that. But that will do it for episode 507 of Trick or Treat Radio. And next week, as I mentioned, for episode 508, we're going to be joined by Steve Van Sampson to talk about Wormwood Apocalypse. And Apocalypse is now streaming on VOD. You can go ahead and check that out. Let me just make sure it's not on. I think it's going to be on Shudder eventually. Let me just see if it's on there now or not. I don't think so. Yeah, so I think it's just VOD. So it may be on there eventually, but right now, if you want to check it out, it's on VOD. So Wormwood Apocalypse, check it out. And that is going to do it. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to everyone who checked out the live show and sent in a voice message, and especially our Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. We love you. And everyone who listens to this podcast on Friday, thank you. See you next week.